Sharma in once again. Little sweep shot, top edge, and down towards deep backward square leg. They're turning for the second. That's Rohit Sharma's century. Innings of drama and domination, and Virat Kohli leads the cheers from the Indian change room. He's up on his feet, he's clapping his hands above his head. 7th Test match century for Rohit Sharma to go with 11 50s.
Yeah, he's on the way, Rohit Sharma. He's playing really, really well. It is Saturday, of course, and that means plenty of football coming up on TalkSport and here on TalkSport 2 once the cricket is done and dusted today. There are 5 exclusive national radio football commentaries coming your way from either the Premier League or the EFL. We're underway at lunchtime on both stations. On TalkSport, it's Leicester against Liverpool. On TalkSport 2, it is Nottingham Forest taking on Bournemouth in the Championship, and then there are games throughout the rest of the day as well. Watford Bristol City at 3 o'clock here on TalkSport at 2. Then over on TalkSport, Manchester City Spurs at 5:30, and then we've got the Saturday evening game once again, Brighton against Aston Villa at 8 o'clock. So plenty of football coming your way, but of course we've got a couple of hours more cricket before play is finished today. India resuming after tea, 189 for 3. To take you through the first ball-by-ball commentary stint is going to be Neil Manthorpe.
Thank you very much indeed, Macca. It's been very much a day dominated by Rohit Sharma, and I must say, before lunch, several members of the commentary team were suggesting, when he was moving sweetly into the 70s, that it might just be it was a very early call to make before lunch on the first day, but such is the pitch and such as the expertise of the likes of Darren Gough and Matt Pryor, that they said this could be a match-defining innings. And we're at tea on the first day now, and that view has just been reinforced. Because I tell you what, I mean, who in the England team can... Someone's going to have to match this from Rohit Sharma, and obviously Joe Root's the man of the moment.
He is. Joe Root's got a big decision to make now at tea. They'll be sitting down having a well-deserved break, as you need in these conditions, but he's got to come out and he's got to make something happen. Whether he decides to stick with the spin, which he tends to have done throughout that afternoon session, or whether he goes to number ranked 2 bowler in the world, Stuart Broad. He's got him in his ranks and just said, listen, Stuart, just give me 3 overs as best you can, get the ball in the right areas. We'll give you quite a defensive field, but attacking field in the same sense as well. But what I mean by that is not slips, which is wasted, guys around on the leg side catching, and see if you can just sneak as a wicket, especially someone of the talent of Rohit Sharma, because with Rohit having the ball, going to all parts and building the innings he is, sitting in 132 not out, it's allowing Rahane just knock the ball around, isn't it, and just keep getting himself in and have no real risk in his play.
Matt, I'm casting no judgment whatsoever. I just have this theory that how much we read into numbers and statistics. What do you immediately think when I say to you that Rohit Sharma averages 87 in home test matches and 27 in overseas test matches? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, he's very good at playing spin.
Yeah,
I'll suggest. It's also quite worrying from an England perspective and point of view. He seems very, as Goffey's just said, he seems very well set. Seems quite comfortable now. But it's amazing what just one wicket, couple of wickets can do. You can change the pressure again, change the rhythm of the game, the tempo of the game. They always say put 2 on the board, so 189 for 5 suddenly looks a very different prospect. And that's what England, I imagine, would be saying. I think Joe Root, the captain at tea, would be saying, right guys, it's time to really dig in here now. This last session, we can't let India get away from us. This is crucial. This is a crucial session. They all are, obviously. It's the biggest cliche in cricket, but they have to find a way. If you're not taking wickets, you've got to stop the Indian batsmen scoring.
Matt, we talked about this the last test match, because there was times on the last tour there where England batted first and got 400, and it wasn't enough. I mean, the opposition went back past them, but I think they were a lot flatter than what we're seeing here today. On the first day, to see the odd ball puffing a dust on that first session, and then the cracks And the players have already talked about some of the cracks on the pitch opening up already on day one, when we've seen a few keep lower than they normally would. It's a bit of a concern for England, so they need a big session here.
Yeah, they definitely do, and again, it's a big half hour. This is the opportunity to take these wickets, because it doesn't matter what score you're on. As a batsman walking back out to the crease, we're right now watching Rahane taking guard again, resetting as a batsman. Right, come on, get back in, move your feet again. You got to get started. So this is a time for England. They can attack, and I don't mean necessarily attack by the lines they're bowling or the fields they're bowling, but by their intensity, by making sure the batsmen feel like they're being hunted, and hopefully force that breakthrough. Because if these two bat on through the next half hour, it's and I know it's early days. It's only day one, right? It's only day one. But from what we've seen of this wicket so far, it's only going to get worse. Surely, it's only going to get worse. Only going to get harder to bat. So, yeah, big job for Joe Root and his England men. Let's see how they get on.
I assume that England will have spin from one end, at least one end, throughout the final session. But Stuart Broad's only bowled two spells of 4 overs. It's going to be Ollie Stone for the first over from the Pattabiraman Gate end. That's where the seamers bowled most of their overs and took most of their wickets in the first Test match on this ground. But I think the spinners are finding assistance from both ends. And here is Ollie Stone, first over after tea, 36 overs left, and he immediately goes past the outside edge. Just maybe it was the angle, and maybe there was a little bit of movement away from the right-hander there. Ajinkya Rahane pushing at it. It's just a bit wide, perhaps. Sort of typical after tea, first delivery after tea shot.
That's what Matt says. You have to reset yourself. Coming out after lunch, a drinks break, a tea. It's a good time to bowl. If you're a bowler, you come out, you know the batsman's had that break. His feet might not be moving like they were just before the break, and there you go. Nearly nicked one through to the keeper.
Slip in the gully, backward point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket. It's a ring field apart from the slip in the gully. Nobody in close on the leg side. The next one is pushed away defensively by Rahane towards backward point. He remains on 36. Rohit Sharma has 132.
It's a bit of chat, I think, last session about the wicket maybe not going or drying out and breaking up as much as we thought. But don't forget the influence of the ball. A softer cricket ball makes such a difference. Now, England are only in the 55th over. Obviously, new ball comes at 80. It's a long way till that new rock comes. I think we'll see a big difference when you get a newer, harder ball on this surface. But for now, again, they've got to find a way.
Ollie Stone in again, bowls to Rahane, opens the face of the bat, straight to backward point. No run there.
The thing is, though, Matt, this ball they're using is supposed to be an harder ball with a more pronounced seam. But what we saw the last game is, but it didn't last very long. It went soft pretty quickly, and the seam was destroyed after about 15 overs. But what we did find, didn't we, in the last game is, but it did reverse more quicker and quicker as the game went on, and I think it'll be exactly the same here. So seamers in the second innings will come into the game, as we saw from Jimmy Anderson in the second innings of the last Test match.
Here is Ollie Stone again, bowls. A little bit of reverse swing into the right-handed Rahane there. Pushes it out on the offside. I was about to say the art of ball maintenance, the art of getting a ball to reverse swing and getting it into that right condition. It's become as much of a science as it has an art. And you get it slightly wrong, as India did in the first innings in the first Test match. Do you remember they got it wrong, and the ball got too wet too soon, and it went bullet straight through the air throughout the first 80 overs of the first innings. Here is Ollie Stone once again, and it's steered away, maybe off the inside edge onto the pad towards gully, Rory Burns Fields. You absolutely have to get it right if the seamers are going to get into the game, because there's no pace in the pitch and nothing else for them to work with.
Exactly right, man. You have to get the ball going sideways somewhere, whether it's spin, orthodox swing or reverse swing. And of course, it's not going to go orthodox here. It's not going to seam off this pitch, so reverse swing's your only option. And it's a collaborative effort. It's a team effort. All 11 guys on the pitch will know exactly what the plan is with the ball. Keep your hands off. Keep the sweat off the dry side.
Here's Ollie Stone again, and definite tail back into the right-handed Rahane. He pushes it to Ollie Pope at mid-wicket.
And the reason it's so crucial that it's a whole team effort is because if one person, you work so hard to get the ball reversing, don't you, Goffey?
Yeah.
And then one person, the bloke stood at point, he's not really, he's concentrating on his batting, bit of shadow batting, and the ball comes to him, he catches a big sweaty palm on the dry side. That's it. That's the reverse swing gone, it goes gun barrel straight, and suddenly it's a batsman's game completely. So it's crucial that every single England cricketer on the pitch right now buys into, we need to get this ball going sideways somehow, and that way is through reverse swing.
189 for 3. 55 overs gone of the 90 to be bowled in the day, and this partnership currently worth 103. So who's going to bowl the first over from the other end after tea? It presumably will be spin, because Joe Root's gathering men around the bat, and it's going to be Mo Ali. Matt, one of the truisms of reverse swing is that there is usually at least one person in any team who just doesn't quite get it, isn't there?
You're lucky if there's just one.
Yeah. Ours was our captain at one point, Michael Atherton. He didn't go about it the right way, did he?
Look, I was very fortunate to play in a team that's sort of studied reverse swing very, very closely and became very good at it. Hence why, it's a big contributor to why we won in India that time. And there is another case: too many chefs, too many people with too many theories. And that can certainly get in the way as well.
But there's I've seen test teams around the world. Here's Mo Ali, and that one is caught off the pad at short leg. Ollie Pope, a polite inquiry, but a nice turn from Mo
And
Ali.
bounce.
Yeah, turn and bounce. They're real fizz. I know that there are, as I say, I've seen test teams around the world where the ball is deliberately kept away from certain fielders, and they're hidden in the field, not because here's Mo again, and it's pushed out behind square on the offside, not because they're bad fielders, but because they can't be trusted to field the ball and handle it in the correct way. So Mo and Ali's really giving it a rip now in this first over after tea. Sweep shot. And again, another polite inquiry as it hits him on the pad. Ben Folkes with the gloves in the air asking the question. But umpire Nitin Menon says not out.
Yeah, man, we even got Monty Panesar to change how he held the ball when he was running into bowl, because we saw, like, very much like Jack Leach does. He spins the ball in his hand before he goes into, and he's spinning it on the dry side. So all you're doing is smoothing over the dry side and wetting it as well. So we had to speak to Monty, and fair play to him, he did change how he held the ball.
Moeen in once again, pushed by Rohit back down to the bowler. Not easy to change the habit of a lifetime.
No, absolutely, and that's how crucial it is. That you're saying, sorry Monty, we know you've done this your whole career, but actually you can't do that before you run into bowl, and you're going to have to hold the shiny side right.
Slightly shorter, and Rohit pushes it out to Pope at short leg, no run.
There's so many factors in this, and he's right, Matt. It's very difficult because it might be 5, 8, 10 overs where the ball will reverse for, and then it suddenly stops. So you need to be right on it. You need to.
And again, another sweep shot, louder appeal, more confident appeal for leg before wicket, but not out again, says Nitin Menon. Probably impact outside the line of off stump, I would imagine.
Having a think about it though. Ben Stokes is not so sure. He's having a word with Joe Root, the captain.
Bit of bounce, I reckon, as well.
Run out of time now.
You were saying, Goffey, so many. Why would it suddenly stop? Is that because the dry side becomes wet?
Yeah, for whatever reasons, the things you're talking about. But sometimes when it goes, and that's why we had the effect in the last test. If you remember, Jimmy Anderson, part of the skill is when someone comes on and the ball is reversing, they tend to ball it too straight. It goes down the leg side, the ball gets battered, it gets it around the boundaries, and then suddenly it stops. The reason we were successful the last game, Jimmy Anderson came on straight away with his experience and his skill, his high skill levels, got the ball, the perfect line, the perfect length, slanting back into the right-hander, and he could have had 3 wickets that over. Remember the LBW shout, was just outside, and then he knocked 2 of the stumps out. That is what the art of reverse swing is about. When it happens, practicing that line, because not many people practice it. That is the fault of so many cricketers out there.
Here's Ollie Stone, and that's Ajinkya Rahane pushing it behind square on the offside. Matt Pryor, do you remember when Virender Sehwag was asked, as a batsman, it was a question, he was asked what's the best way to counteract reverse swing, and his answer was widely misinterpreted as being slightly sort of arrogant and going, when he said hit the ball into the stands, and people thought he was saying, well, I just hit it for 6, that's how you counteract. But he wasn't. He was actually being serious. He was, because you need to change the condition of the ball, and there are a number of ways you can do that by hitting it for a 6. Short, put away, out behind square on the leg side. He might have been interested to a leg gully, but Ben Folkes turns and runs around. I think that came off the batsman's gloves.
One thing about today, and Akash, remember last week we're talking about the Indian bowlers didn't bowl enough short balls. I don't think we have today. I think we've lacked on the short ball. It has an effect on these sort of pitches. It stopped the batsmen getting too far forward. Don't let them premeditate. Now and again, Ollie Stone especially has got to bowl the odd bouncer.
Well, that was a good one. And it gloved Ajinkya Rahane. The ball popped up in the air. He was certainly not in control of where it was going. Here is Stone once again, and punched off the back foot. Lovely, lovely shot from Rohit Sharma. Beautifully pushed. Didn't try to hit it too hard, didn't need to. Just a punch off the back foot for another couple. Moves on to 134. Of course, you have to be good enough, as Virender Sehwag was, to hit 6s. Hello, Jared.
Just on the short ball thing, Goffey, do you think that's because they tried some to Rohit Sharma and he's got perhaps the best pull shot, especially in Asia, of anyone? Like, he did hit Stokes for a couple, didn't he?
Yeah, but when a pitch, the odd one is not bouncing and it's got inconsistent speed and bounce, it's a wicket-taking delivery. All they have to do to counter that is put a man back. If he's going to just keep hitting every single time they do it for 6, yes, you might think about not doing it, but...
Stone in again, left alone outside the off stump by Rohit.
But we've got to have a look. We've got to try something different. England need a wicket here, and we've used that tactic before to huge success. So I don't understand why we haven't used that tactic whatsoever today. And Ben Stokes in the side who can do it, and we know Ollie Stone's got the pace to trouble the Indian batsman.
Govey, I think he's spot on, and it goes back to the point we were trying to make. When the ball is reversing, lines and lengths don't change. Good lines, good lengths don't change. When the ball's reversing, you still want to hit the top of off. Whether the line you might start it on, the length you might bowl, it might vary differently because you have to, bowl slightly fuller.
Stone in again, and off the back foot, Rohit punches it to cover.
But if the ball was swinging orthodox, you'd still use your bumper. But what we tend to have is in our sort of mindset, okay, ball's reversing, got to get it full. What happens, bowlers try and get too full, they get driven too easily. You still got to hold, and that's what Jimmy Anderson, with all his experience, last test match, ball's reversing, he didn't suddenly go full and straight. He kept his length, he kept attacking top of off stump. And then, of course, you've got to keep that short ball in your armoury. But on wickets like this, you've got to make sure your bumper is your bumper. It's got to be above shoulder height. I think we saw, Jared, you mentioned a couple of short balls earlier. That's all they were. They were short balls, really. They were nothing balls. They were between waist and shoulder, and they're actually free hits.
Here is Stone. Again, definite signs of reverse swing here as Rohit Sharma gets for behind one that moves into him and pushes it defensively out on the offside. Over comes to an end. That's 3 gone after tea, and India still very well placed, 192 for 3.
That was actually clever from Ollie Stone, that last ball of that last over. He came a lot wider of the crease, tried to slant it and change that angle to Rohit Sharma. If the ball is swinging, I think what I like to do as well, when the ball looked like it was trying to reverse, if you want to try and get one to go away from the batsman and over exaggerate it by coming wide of the crease and setting it at the stumps, if it can just hold on that line, that's like a huge, it almost feels like a huge outswinger to the batsman who's facing it.
Ajinkya Rahane 37, Rohit Sharma 134. India winning the toss, surprising nobody by choosing to bat first, 192 for 3. Rohit Sharma with his 7th test match centuries, 134 not out. Moeen Ali has got a wicket, and not just a wicket, the wicket of Virat Kohli, the first time in the Indian captain's career that he's been dismissed by a spinner for naught. Down the wicket comes Rahane now to Moeen Ali, and pushes that up towards Jack Leach at mid-off. Fairly deep at mid-off, but no single on this occasion. This partnership is worth 106. Moeen Ali once again to the crease now. Bowled down the wicket comes Rahane, using his feet beautifully and driving wide of mid-off and down to the boundary for 4. What a super shot that is from Ajinkya Rahane. Using their feet, both batsmen using their feet more often than not against the spinners.
I can't tell you what a good shot this is. To hit the off spinner, it's been turning quite a bit since tee. Come down the wicket, and that's the key, it's coming down the quick feet. Walks down the wicket, gives himself a bit of space, but gets to the pitch of the ball and then is able to just open his hand slightly and beat mid-off to his left. Very, very good shot.
Jared will be able to tell me if I'm right here. I understand Rohit Sharma is a career 10% leave the crease man, but I understand that he's been leaving the crease a lot more than that during this innings. Here is Moeen Ali once more, and it's flicked with the spin out towards one of 2 short mid-wickets all the way along the ground, Rory Burns Fields, and there's no run. I could be wrong, Jared, that's why I'm asking you. So apparently he uses his feet, leaves the crease 10% of the time against spinners. Ajinkya Rahane's more than that, and he does so again here.
Have you just made that up, or is that something you'd like me to check?
I'd like you to check.
I feel like you're looking at something, Manners.
I'm not at the moment. I saw something that popped up on my screen. I think that's what it said. Here is Moeen Ali, chopped away behind square on the offside. Nobody patrolling the backward point boundary, and that'll be 4 more to Ajinkya Rahane. So Moeen Ali's still bowled some deliciously attacking, threatening deliveries, but he's also bowled more loose deliveries than anyone else today, and he has been expensive, and 2 4s in this over, and India bring up their 200.
Yeah, I think Joe Root has to have a little chat with Moeen here. He's going at just under 5 and over, which really is far too many. And as you say, man, he's bowled some great deliveries, but he's also just bowled too many bad balls. I'd be really tempted to come around the wicket now.
Well, Moeen Ali gets right into his delivery stride and then pulls out, and the crowd are jeering or cheering because perhaps it was a warning for Rohit Sharma for leaving his crease too early, and maybe it was just because he felt the ball slipping in his hand. He's in again, and that's played away defensively on the onside, because as he stopped in his delivery side, he actually turned around towards the stumps, but he then rubbed his hands in the dirt just to sort of dry up a little bit of sweat. I don't think it was a Mankad warning. Pretty sure it wasn't. 200 for 3 India, with Rohit Sharma on 134, Ajinkya Rahane on 45.
Yeah, just mention about Moeen coming around the wicket. I'd be tempted for him to do that now, because at the moment India are scoring on both sides of the wicket, and it's feeling a bit too easy. Like we've seen there, Rahane down the wicket, punching through mid-wicket, but then able to sit back on the short ball and squeeze it through the offside as well. If you come around the wicket, it changes the angle, but at least you can just say, right, what I'm going to do is bowl straight, brings in LBW. Okay, I'm not looking to play bowl outside off stump, but that then at least closes off the offside, and you can set a very predominantly leg side field and just gain some control back.
Ollie Stone continues from the Bitterman gate end, and it's turned away behind square on the leg side, off his hip very easy as he liked, by Rohit Sharma, who moves on to 135 with that single. The reason I was asking you, Jared, whether it is true that Rohit Sharma has used his feet more than average is not just to get you working, is just that if it is true, I was going to ask Matt Pryor why that would be the case today particularly.
Well, early on he was sweeping more than average as well, so he's probably just attacking the spinners more, and that's, I don't know why I'm answering this for Matt, but to be fair, Matty was just average, wasn't he? So I'll take over here. Wicket keepers, what do they know about batting? But I think in this particular case, I think because it was spinning a bit extra, he's been attacking the spinners a little bit more than he normally would. He's been closer to a runner ball. Usually he's around 4.5 to 5 runs and over. So that's probably why we've seen more attacking shots in general.
Ollie Stone in, back of a length, hits thigh pad of Ajinkya Rahane.
But what do you think, Matt?
Well, being told I couldn't bat, I could bat but couldn't keep my whole career, I'll take that as a compliment.
You've been reading my columns again.
Never read the press, mate. No, I think the reason why he would be using his feet is because ultimately on a pitch like this, you can feel like a bit of a sitting duck if you stay in your crease. And what you're trying to do is put pressure back on the bowler. You're saying, I'm not just going to sit here and wait for you to get me out. Come down the wicket, try and squeeze the ball, get to the pitch, smother the spin would be the idea.
201 for 3 and pushed out towards cover. Well, he's been covering the spin into the stands a couple of times.
Yeah, but I don't think that's not why you're doing it. That's not what you're looking for. You come down the pitch to tell the bowler that I'm coming at you. And then what you're looking for is actually you're waiting for the one that he drags down. And that's what India have done brilliantly. They've used their feet to come down the wicket, but then actually they're scoring off the ball that's just dropped slightly short. Moeen or Leach thinking that they're going to come down the wicket. Actually they don't. They drop it slightly short, and that's a much safer shot to play off the back foot. And Jared, here you go. You can work out what's the percentage they've scored off the back foot compared to the front foot. Be quite interesting.
Short ball pulled away by Ajinkya Rahane behind square on the leg side. I didn't think he'd hit it that well, but he has, and it's beaten Jack Leach on the deep square leg boundary. And my goodness me, India are in form at the moment with Ajinkya Rahane moving on to 49. Rohit Sharma has 135 as we welcome our listeners on Talk Sport. India have moved on to 205 for 3, having at one stage been 86 for 3.
But that's why the odd short ball's got to come here, though, because Rahane, yes, that one didn't come on as quick as he thought it did. It was well-controlled shot, but if he got the man in the right position, he might just get a top edge of one of them, especially with the speeds Ollie Stone's been bowling. It's been impressive speeds today from Ollie. He's kept running in on this sort of pitch.
Here's Stone once again. Forward comes Rahane, pushing defensively out on the onside. You know the way, Matt Pryor, you know the way all-rounders are generally not offended if, in fact, they often encourage the perception that they are either a batsman who also bowls or a bowler who bats. Do keepers feel, do keepers mind being described as a batsman who keeps or a keeper who bats? Would you have been offended if people said you are basically a batsman who also keeps?
No, because it was true.
205 for 3. And that one has come back quite nicely and hits Rahane on the pad, probably in front of off stump. He appeals, but just to clear his throat, really. I don't think he believed there was much chance of that.
I think the life of a keeper who bats is more or less dead now, isn't it, in international cricket? You need to be a batter who keeps.
Well, he's got one playing here, folks. Keeper who bats, he'd be in that bracket, wouldn't he? Keeper that bats.
Yeah.
Only on the basis that his keeping is better than his batting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he can bat as well.
He certainly can. He scored 100.
Well, unless you're Jared, he'd probably say he can't bat, but...
I was just on the keepers who can bat and can't. I think the last wicket keeper who batted number 11 in Test match cricket retired in 1968. And so from that moment onwards, we've gone.
I was thinking 9. In the 70s and 80s, there were keepers who batted at number 9.
There were not many, even in that era. It had already started to move on by that point. So name me a keeper and I'll look him up, but I'm pretty sure.
They had to bat 7, really, didn't they? 7's the number.
7 and 8. Yeah.
I remember some of my first sessions when I started working with Bruce French, and we'd do our keeping drills, and I'd say, right, French, you've got to go, I'm going to go bat. And you'd look at me, and you think, you what? I was like, no, I've got to go and do my batting session. I've got to go practice. Why are you doing that? Well, actually, we're expected to score hundreds now as well, mate. You can't just catch the ball and think your job's over.
Well, the Frenchie bat 8, didn't he? He was probably...
he certainly didn't practice in the nets, I know that.
That's driven down the ground. No, it's a low full toss, and it will be cut off by Stuart Broad running around from long on. What number did Bruce French bat in the Test team? It was number 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bruce used to bat 8, yeah. Jack used to be 8 as well. But then Stewie, he's batted anyway from 7 all the way through to 1, Stewie.
Yeah, but I think it's not just where you bat, it's probably the amount of runs you score as well. I think Frenchie averaged 18, didn't he? 19, something like that,
yeah.
which probably wouldn't stand up in this day and age.
Better ball from Moeen Ali, and just steered defensively out on the offside.
Probably wouldn't stand up. Could you imagine now if you had a wicketkeeper, they're averaging 17?
Well,
it's a tough sell, isn't it?
What's Payne averaging?
32 or something?
Give over.
He's got the third high. This is... Okay.
Driven in the air, and
I read before you start. I read your article on Tim Payne being the third highest average of an Australian or whatever it was.
Yeah,
go on, Kimber, tell us.
Third highest average of an Australian wicketkeeper ever, which tells you how much it's changed, because people see him as almost on the verge of being dropped at all times.
Here's Moeen Ali once more.
Yeah, because
nice drift here, no run.
Sorry, Manners. Yeah, because he's a batsman that keeps.
Yeah, he's probably more like Folks, though, isn't he? He's probably more like Folks in that he was, he's probably borderline.
He's a batsman that keeps.
Well, he hasn't made any runs for about 15 years in his professional career.
Probably the point.
Here's Moeen Ali, turn and bounce, and he stepped back to cut, did Ajinkya Rahane, and it spun back, and it was too close to in the end to play the shot, and he's slightly fortunate to get away with that one, but good turn and bounce from Moeen Ali. As we've said all along today, he's bowling some delightful deliveries. It's just one or two that haven't been. He's bowled poor deliveries as well, but that is just spat and bounced out of the rough.
Oh. But that's been the problem with our off spinners so far. I know we're only into the second test. Dom Best bowled some great deliveries in the first test, but too many bad deliveries. And now we've seen that from Moeen Ali today. So we're starting to see a problem in controlling the game with our off spinners so far. I know this is Moeen's first game for a long, long time. He's into his 18th over. He's gone for 79. He's picked up a big wicket of Virat Kohli. But we've got to get some control by both spinners. They've got to bowl in tandem. I could even see Joe Root probably coming on a ball. I'm surprised he's not had a look at himself yet, because he is a wicket taker as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I suggested he might even have had a bowl in the first session. I have to say that we've barely mentioned Ben Foakes' keeping, and that's because it's been so good. He has not missed a single delivery. Here is Moeen Ali once again, and that's pushed nicely down the ground for his 50 by Ajinkya Rahane. Very, very well played. His 50 comes up off 104 deliveries, and it's been chanceless with 8 boundaries. India 207 for 3 after 60 overs. Another word from Matt Pryor, and then it'll be Mark Nicholas for the next 20 minutes.
Yep, things looking slightly ominous for England now. 207 for 3, India. Fantastic innings from Rahane. Chanceless, as Manners has said. 50 runs coming off 104 balls. And this partnership now looking very, very good. Both batsmen, Rohit Sharma, Ajinkya Rahane, looking set. And England going to have to come up with something. Not necessarily too attacking or trying to change the game too much, but I still think Moeen Ali, if he stays on, should come and have a look around the wicket rather than... He hasn't bowled around the wicket once today, so I think that's certainly worth a look.
Funny thing about Moeen, isn't it, that his record in India isn't good. It is in other places. This partnership worth 121, of which Rahane, who's on strike, now has 50 from 104 balls, as Neil just told you. Here's Ollie Stone, and he goes forward, does Rahane, very comfortably with lots of time to play. Defends a good length ball out onto the offside. Yeah, you're quite right about the consistency, Goffey. I mean, you know, you've got to. Matt Pryor said this morning, you know, to win in the subcontinent, you have to be relentless with your bowling discipline, and you've got to keep landing it in that horrible spot just outside off stump on a good length with a bit of flight, plenty of spin.
You have indeed, and like I said, Dom Best, unlucky really when you consider the wickets he's taken in the last 3 tests. 17 in 3 test matches, suddenly dropped for Moeen Ali.
Nicely bowled, hint of a way swing there, just a hint, and it was left alone by Rahane. He went to play it, and he did that thing where a batsman suddenly uses his wrist to pick up the bat out of the way, and it does a little circle, and he was relieved. One of those that on another day might. He does it a bit later than that, and he gets an under edge. Yeah, it's a funny thing with Bess. I mean, he just in the second innings, he looked tired out and he bowled a lot of full tosses. I said he looked almost a little bit yippy, as if he'd lost the confidence to really bowl it. He was putting it there, and that meant that he was bowling those full tosses. Another one right on a length from Ollie Stone. He's done well to show the consistency here, but keep a good strong pace up. Nice performance from him, with a very good early wicket of Shubman Gill, and then Pujara and Kohli going in the morning session, and that for me gave England the edge in the morning session, but they've sure dragged it back with this, well, sublime partnership really. I mean, you always have moments when you've got rough areas and a bit of uneven bounce and spin. You always have moments when things don't go your way, but they've really played A very well and B rather beautifully. It's Rahane on strike, just tucks his chin into his shoulder. It's difficult to do that with the visor that was left alone outside off stump, but that ball. But batsmen had to change the stance a bit with the visor, in that they tended to open their shoulders, that ideally the hips and the feet were kept sideways on. Obviously some batsmen like to stand more open, two-eyed as we used to call it, but sideways on with the hips and the shoulders, and then they with the hips and the feet, and then you'd open the shoulders a bit so that you could still have the eyes level as the bowler released the ball. An attempt to cut from Rahane from a shorter ball, not a rank short ball, and it didn't really get to him, and he was early and hit it down into the ground.
Gives an idea of the pace of the pitch, Mark, doesn't it? Really, it's not much pace in this one. Ollie Stone bowling good speeds, but it's not carrying through, is it? Chest high to the wicket keeper. The slip is not too deep, but he just needs to break one of the ends up here. He needs to get a wicket, so Joe Root has something to bowl at, one end to bowl at this moment in time. Facing spin when you first come in will be a different ball game.
Ollie Stone reaches the crease and bowls nicely, but Rahane steps into it, actually climbs into his step and hits it firmly but without a run to mid-off. The end of that over. The 61st, incidentally, 90 in a day's play, and it's 207 for 3. All the England players have worked very hard on the ball. We've seen a lot of Dan Lawrence's stomach today. He likes to have his shirt out, and he sort of lifts it up as he cleans the ball. Rahane 50, Rohit 136. You've got to work on that ball even if it's not swinging, haven't you? You've got to keep working on it, keep it in good condition, because you never know the moment when for whatever reason it'll suddenly happen. Now, we haven't seen, I mean, we've seen a little bit of shape, but we haven't seen any real reverse swing, and I wonder if that's simply the skill of the bowler, Goffey.
Well, I think it looked like it was going to happen, didn't it, around 25 overs. It just offered, it just started slanting in to the right-hander, but nothing big, nothing what the batsmen were going to be too worried about, and it hasn't. And I think we found this during the first test match as well. The first innings, when the pitch was at its freshest, we didn't see much reverse swing, but as the game went on, we saw more and more.
Well, I'm just looking at the Indian lineup, the big scorecard up. Rishabh Pant is next, then Akshay Patel and R. Ashwin, and then the 3 specialist bowlers, Kuldeep, Ishant and Siraj. Mohammad Siraj playing today. Good sweep shot from Rohit. There's a man back out at deep mid wicket, so he only gets a single for it. England just got to stay in this, got to, because if you get these 2 out, or one of them, you can start to work on the others. We know Rishabh Pant is absolutely brilliant, but equally he's a gambler, and if it's a day when the gamble doesn't come off, you could suddenly pick up 2 or 3 and be right in the game again. Restrict them to 300, and there's no need for England's shoulders to drop, which they haven't done, I have to say. There's a slip and a short leg in place as Moeen Ali lobs one up, and it's wide of Ben Stokes off the outside edge as Rahane went for a little push through the covers. He was beaten in the line and the flight, but he got away with it. A couple for Rahane.
I think that's a really good point you make, Mark. You've got to hang in. You've got to hang in, because these 2 batsmen now are making it look quite comfortable. They're making it look quite easy. They've got very clear plans. But a new batsman walking out to this wicket, it's not going to be as comfortable. Mark my words. It's going to suddenly. It's amazing how you can, the team's invigorated, create more pressure.
It's slow and wide and full, but swept from a long way out. So that was the old come over. And it gets a single, does Rahane, out to deep mid wicket. Oh, I don't know. I think we might have lost your sound there, Matt. I know Gareth has joined us. Maybe you've been switched off. I know. I want you to finish this wisdom. Give me your wisdom, sir. Oh, a full bunger from Moeen, and the first sort of slightly lazy shot, if I was honest, by Rohit Sharma. It chips it towards mid-off, but it doesn't get anywhere near mid-off, so he's safe. He gets another single. He's on 138. Rahane on 53. 212 for 3. Hang on, Matt. Just hang on. I know you're eager. Hang on. It'll be good when it comes. And that's another sweep. This from way outside off stump. So they've definitely taken a leaf out of the Joe Root book. They've looked at Root's brilliance in the last 3 test matches playing the sweep shot. Indians of late haven't played the sweep as they once did, but in this match they've looked to play it a lot. He sweeps that onto his toe, actually, bottom edge onto toe, and it pops up. 1 ball in the over left, And that's a forward defence nicely played. So the end of the over, 2-12 for 3. And although Gareth Batty has joined us, Matt Pryor has something for us.
Chomping at the bit. No, I think I was just going to finish off by saying you're spot on. It looks flat now. These two batsmen have got very clear plans, but you get that one wicket, Pant comes out, he likes taking risks. One might come off fine, but it might not. Suddenly you've got 2 wickets down, you've got the debutant coming in next. You can take 2-3 wickets quite quickly here, and suddenly the whole game shifts again. So England have to hang in and keep thinking, right, put 1, 2, 3 wickets on the board.
So Matt, Gareth, who were the captains who kept you going in situations like this, and what did they do and say? Do you turn to a bit of humour? Do you demand greater concentration? Do you stay serious? What? Tell me.
Well, the first thing is you can't rely on one guy. It's got to be a team effort, and usually your captain's so busy thinking about plans and strategies that actually it's your slip fielders, your wicket keeper, your silly points, whatever it may be.
And who was good at it, Gareth, in your time?
I had Varney in Antigua. He just kept laughing and throwing me the ball. Rather you than me, pal.
Michael Vaughan. Rather you than me, pal. And he could bowl an off break, Michael Vaughan, too, couldn't he?
He didn't that game. There was only one mug propelling off spin that game.
That was the Brian Lara innings, of course. The world record score, I think I'm right in saying, Gareth, your Antigua match.
The end of a career.
Good career, though. And you're still involved in the game, which is marvellous.
Yeah, absolutely. The one observation from Moeen Ali, Matt touched on it a few moments ago. I do like the idea of him coming round the wicket because of that rough. He's still bringing the rough into the equation, but I think it is just shutting the off stump at the off side of the field down to score off, but it's still bringing it in from a wicket-taking view. I still think you can bring the slip into play if the ball doesn't spin, but I think you're bringing in LBWs and the batsman can't get outside the line the same if they want to continue sweeping, which they're doing so well.
212 for 3. Joe Root's taken a long time to reorganise the field, and he's got Stuart Broad back into the attack, which I think is a very good move, actually. This is just a moment to turn to an experienced and skillful bowler. Broad's still got the old bandana on, the white thing wrapped around his head. He's come in with a lot of energy today. The ball hasn't done much for him. He'll obviously work on trying to get it reverse swing here. He's a bowler of great optimism, which is what you need at a time like this. Impossible to say what England have missed. You know, Wood Anderson or Archer have bowled well. Archer wasn't fit in the end, but Wood Anderson or Wokes have bowled any differently. Because we haven't seen any swing, maybe not. We'll never know. Joe looks a little more like his age. He's always looked very young for his age, but he's a bit thinner in the face, a lot of training in his period away from the game. Supremely fit and unshaven, of course, adds a year or two. Had his hair cut. You can see how that brain's working all the time, just to tinker with fielding positions, rotate bowlers, try to give them the best chance. You're right, I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned the idea of round the wicket to Moeen. I've not heard of Moeen being uncomfortable round the wicket. The great Mutai Muralitharan was uncomfortable round the wicket. I mean, he would bowl round the wicket, but it wasn't what he wanted to do. Kumar Sangakkara used to speak to him a lot about it, and Murali would say, well, I'm fine. Occasionally he and Mahela Jayawardena would win the argument with Murali, but not so often. 213 for 3. Broad again bowls, and there's a forward defence to a gentle outswinger, not a late curving, searing, reversed swinger. Like a Eunice bowl or something like that James Anderson bowled so tellingly in the last match.
Yeah, but the one thing about Stuart Broad being on now, he gives England great control. You can rely on his process, what he's looking to do, how he's setting the batter up. And I think he'll be looking at getting both batters out, but limiting the risk of runs and the scoreboard getting away at the same time, which is a great skill and asset for the England team right now.
Broad again, and again a forward defence. We've seen that so often today. Ollie Stone and Stuart Broad have bowled that good length, that off stump, quite a full good length, and batsmen have come forward and defended. And I tell you what, the pitch has behaved very well. That we shouldn't get overexcited about the pitch. You can't be 213 for 3 against a decent Test team, and unless the pitch has played okay. Yes, the batting's been very good. Of course it has. Very good. In fact, exceptionally good, you'd say. But England have players to bat as well as this. I think our Ashwin will be a problem, and in the second innings, Kuldeep Yadav's difficult to read for sure. Akshar Patel making his debut, the left-arm spinner, and a good batsman, by the way. Dead straight from Broad, and dead straight defence and response from Rahane, who has 53. I was talking about London earlier. If you go to the next door window, you can see right round to past the London Eye to the Battersea Power Station. The river has a huge curve behind my commentary position, and in front of me it winds round to Canary Wharf and the O2. But opposite me on the river, we've got really the centre point of the city, the Bank of England and St Paul's, and such wonderful London landmarks on a sunny but cold morning. Still snow left on the AstroTurf roof just beneath us here, of rather an ugly sort of 1970s building. Grey concrete as forward goes Rahane, defending in Chennai, so many miles from here, and yet modern technology brings us so close. So much different architecture in London too, as I look at modern glass buildings, older classical buildings. Anyway, enough of that, and time for some Akash Chopra, our friend from India, who's a former Test match batsman in the early 2000s and a brilliant commentator and indeed observer of the game. Akash, hello.
Hi Mark, how are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Not so much alarm in the pitch then, I think, after the morning session. It seems to have becalmed this afternoon. Or is that the ball?
I think the ball going soft has a part to play, and also the fact that Rohit has played the spinners very well. He's taken the attack to the two spinners, hasn't really allowed Moeen Ali to settle down, going at about 4.5 runs per over. He's putting pressure back on Moeen.
Moeen Ali bowls to... That's a great line and length, and it's blocked easily by Rohit. How do you think Moeen has bowled?
Moeen has bowled all right. It's just that he hasn't bowled that poorly. It's just that Indian batsmen, both Rohit and Rahane, they've played him well, really well.
Yep, they have, and now they sweep again, and it will be stopped. Oh no, it won't. That's an unusual error by England in the field. And in fairness to that man, and I haven't yet identified him, Dom Bess, who's on as a substitute, his feet got stuck, I think, in some soft turf, and he drew a huge divot from the ground as he stumbled. And I mean a huge divot, by the way, really a crater. And he's replacing it now, and I think that's why he stumbled and misfielded. So it went to the boundary. So another boundary for Rohit Sharma. And we know... Akash, how he goes big, doesn't he? I mean, Rohit Sharma's a double 100 man in all formats of the game. Moeen again. Lovely,
yes,
great shot, late cut. Just a bit of delicacy in that. Two more, ticking nicely. Yes, tell us, Rohit Sharma.
No, you're absolutely right. Just this ability to hit 4s and 6s at will. That allows him to just jump from 100 to 150, then moves very swiftly to 200. His double centuries are very different from, say, a Joe Root double century or a Virat Kohli double century, because he just continues to dominate and changes gears very quickly.
Now he's got a top edge to a sweep, and that's rare that he misses one, but there's no one at 45. The man at deep backward square, Dom Sibley, runs round to do the fielding. Another single, 146 for Rohit Sharma, 53 for Ajinkya Rahane.
Akash, I've got a question for you. Do you think there's any merit in Moeen Ali coming around the wicket? We've suggested that might be a good way of making it harder to sweep.
I'm with you.
Good placement. Rahane goes well back, waits, and then with a straight bat, sort of feeds the ball into the leg side. The offside, I mean, and it really ran away off the middle of the bat through just in front of cover point.
Gareth, I'm with you absolutely, because then you also make sure that you're not leaking too many runs in this fashion through the offside. So you pitch everything within the stumps, and now you ask difficult questions of working it through the offside against the spin. It's not going to be easy.
End of the over, 222 for 3 here on TalkSport 2. We're bringing you the whole series. Saturday's game day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 as we bring you 5 exclusive national radio commentaries from the Premier League and from the EFL. Of course, we've got Leicester and Liverpool at 12:30. The small matter of Manchester City and Tottenham at 5:30 and Brighton and Aston Villa at 8 p.m. And the best way to listen to TalkSport's live football commentaries is to download the TalkSport app, by the way, and pick the games that you want to hear. So an exciting day with the cricket in the morning, and then going to the football from the middle of the day. But in general, we're with you throughout the tour, mainly on TalkSport 2, but with bursts on TalkSport as well. And as I keep saying, or we all keep saying, that downloading the app is absolutely the way to go. 222 for 3, or as Richie Beno would have said, 222. And Rohit Sharma's just playing sublimely well, and there's good support from Ajinkya Rahane. But England are by no means out of this game. I said it in my last stint: take 2 wickets, get back in the game. It really is uncomplicated, just rather difficult to do.
Yeah, it's a 136-run partnership now between the two batters. You just feel like England need to get the bowling partnerships up together. Broad's first over back.
Commentate on that ball for me, will you? I lost my microphone.
Broad, just a straightish ball, sort of went into middle and leg stump, and Rohit just off the inside edge, trickled down to fine leg and a single taken. But you just felt like Stuart Broad's first over only went for the single, and then Moeen Ali's over went for 9. You just feel like if you can be single or maiden, something will build from an England point of view, and just apply a bit more pressure.
Apologies, I dropped my microphone. 223 for 3 as Ajinkya Rahane settles into his stance, very organised stance. He picks up the bat quite early and a little higher than Rohit Sharma, and the ball runs off the blade as the footwork wasn't quite so good there, as Broad got a good line and length going. Broad's got a lot of muck on his trousers from one extraordinary dive to save a boundary. It's still with 3, but he scooped it back, and I do mean an inch from the boundary rope or foam, whatever you want to call it, advertising. And that's a sort of, you see that from all the bowlers these days, a lot of commitment out there. Goffey said no way would he have dived like that for the sake of a run in a test match, because obviously he was protecting himself from injury and realised that every over he bowled would be more valuable than a single run saved. As Root sprints to his left to field that drive and throws at the non-striker's end, but all in vain. Rahane adds 1 to his score off another full ball. It's just difficult to keep believing, that's the thing, that because they're making batting look so easy. If you had someone that was struggling a bit, nicking it, nudging it, but had 50, you'd say we were right in the game. But they're cruising, these guys, at least seemingly so, but cricket's never like that.
No, it certainly isn't, and like you say, you get a wicket, you could quite often get 2 and 3, particularly on a surface like this where there's something for the bowlers without being lots and lots for the bowlers.
Broad again, bangs it into the surface, doesn't get much out of it. Back goes Rohit Sharma, works it to the leg side for another single. Mark Waugh used to say there's no such thing as a flat pitch, only a flat bowler. Well, I don't think England have been flat today at all. They bowled pretty well overall.
No, I think they have. They just struggle to sort of bowl together in the partnership bowl for the guy the other end. So if you've bowled your 4-5 strong dot balls that have challenged the batsman, make sure you finish it off. No more than a single off that last ball. Try and get a maiden if you can. And just sort of add overs together to build up some pressure on the batsman. So then maybe they go looking for something that isn't there. Or allow that Jaffa to come in.
Broad again, and forward goes Ajinkya, and he plays so well when he defends because he plays so late. He lets the ball come most of the way to him, and full credit to him for that, because when people are starting to ask questions about your form. He made 100 in Melbourne against the Australians, but otherwise he's had a lean run of late in Test match cricket. You do tend to go at the ball a bit, want to feel bad on ball and chase the game, but he hasn't done that at all. He did say in his interviews prior to the match that he didn't have anything to be worried about. He felt very good about his play, and he's proven that pretty conclusively today. So well done him. His Broad again, he bowls, and again he goes forward and he pushes it to short extra cover, and there's no run. So 148 for Rohit, 56 for Rahane, 2-2 5 for 3, and Akash Chopra is still there. Ajinkya Rahane is a very strong character, Akash.
He is, and to be fair, there is a bit of an anomaly when we talk about his runs in India, runs overseas. We as Indians, brought up on these surfaces, we are likely to score more runs, of course, in these conditions. But he's different. He likes the ball to come onto the bat nicely. He's someone who caresses the ball. He's more of a touch player, doesn't really muscle the ball, and therefore batting at 5 at times when he started maybe at 6. That wasn't really suited his style of play, so he had to adapt. He had to find a different way of scoring runs. What I've really liked so far from Rahane is just the positive approach. Ever since he's come out to bat, he's looked to score runs. That's what he did in Melbourne as well. Just looked a shot and allowed the ball to come to him.
Joe Root for the first time today going to bowl round the wicket. Oh, and he immediately beats Rohit Sharma with a super delivery, running across him. That's the thing. Change the angles, keep the batsman thinking. And he's very unlucky not to get the outside edge. Again, beautifully taken by Ben Foakes. Here's Andrew McKenna.
Thank you very much, Mark. Rohit Sharma, 148 not out. Root around the wicket to him. He's pitching it round about middle and off, and Rohit Sharma's playing it back down the pitch, and there's no run.
You can just see with the change of angle now, Rohit Sharma can't get outside off stump, because if he hits him on the pad, he's smack in front. It's different to when you're over the wicket as an off spinner. It's making him hold his line, which is bringing the outside edge even more, actually.
3 around the bat, slip, and short leg. Root around the wicket, a little bit of air on that one. Rohit's turning it on the onside, can't get it past Lawrence at mid-on, and there is no run. He's faced 202 deliveries now, Rohit, out of the 65 and a half overs that have been sent down. He's 148 not out. Root goes in. A little bit more round arm, that one. Rohit turns it to short leg on the bounce, and there is no run. Interesting that Root, from the very outset, is round the wicket. Gareth, you spoke about it, about bringing the wickets and the dismissals into play when Moeen Ali was bowling. Root definitely round arm on that one. Rohit Sharma's forward, pushing it back down the pitch, no run.
I think you can do it on this surface, because we're already seeing the disruption of the surface every time he pitches down that sort of channel that we see, the tram lines from the DRS, and he's hitting it every time, and it's disturbing the surface.
Root to complete the over. It's a bat and pad together, and that one did lob out, but it lobbed out to sort of a straight mid-wicket. England didn't have a close catcher, and it's the end of the over, but Joe Root bowls a maiden. But Akash at 225 for 3 here on TalkSport 2. Joe Root has a habit of taking wickets, and he was straight into it and on the money there.
Yes, and I think the pace in the air is very critical for you to succeed on this surface. And then fresher arms and then fresher fingers, you put a bit more pace on the ball is what I feel to begin with. And secondly, I would actually not mind the idea of Jack Leach bowling to these two right-handers from over the stumps into the rough, because Rohit, for one, is not going to just hold himself back. Especially when he's close to 150, the way he's batted so far. If you make him do something different, he doesn't reverse sweep, he doesn't switch it. But the moment you bowl that line, that length, you will force him to do something different, and that might produce an opportunity. So it will be interesting how long does Root bowl, and when Leach comes into bowl, what is the line of attack that he adopts.
That's interesting, because in the lead up to the first test, Jack Leach in his press conference was asked about the possibility of bowling left arm over into the dirt, because it worked so well for Ashley Giles and Monty Panesar previously. And Jack Leach said, he didn't say he didn't like it, but he said he's far more comfortable bowling around the wicket. So it might be, Gareth, that's a well, if I have to, I will kind of approach from Jack Leach.
Yeah, it's purely if you look at his angles as he approaches the crease, there's a lot. So around the wicket he's going towards sort of point with his body weight, so getting back to the stumps is tough. So that from over the wicket he's always pushing it in, so it won't be as comfortable to him.
Broad is starting a new over. Rahane is forward. Inside portion of the bat goes out to Jack Leach at mid-wicket, and there is no run.
And most spinners would have a bit of a preference whether it's over or round. Most spinners would know actually that bowling one or the other actually completes their action for them. For most off spinners to come around the wicket, it actually makes them use their left side, so your left arm better, and they get better shape on the ball as a rule traditionally. And left armers are absolutely no different to that. They get to bowl around the wicket a bit more often because there's more right-handers.
Stuart Broad makes it back to the end of his mark and prepares to come in on another glorious afternoon in Chennai. Not as much humidity today, but plenty of heat nonetheless. England have sent down 66 overs and 1 ball, which means there's still 23 overs left in the day after this over. And we're nominally only just over an hour away from close of play. Broad is just wanting a little bit of a change in the field. Wants mid-wicket, I think, just a little bit straighter. There is a short, straight, mid-on and a slip catching for Stuart Broad as he comes in. Bowls to Rahane. Rahane is just defending all the way on that one. 56 from 127 balls faced now for Rahane.
Yeah, and he's got sort of almost what you would call a leg gully rather than a leg slip. It's kind of I'm going to bowl straight and I'm going to call all pockets here. If you want to hit me down the ground because I get a bit full, I've got a man there. If I come back of a length and it goes off the face, I've got a man there. If I bowl a good ball just on your outside edge, I've still got a slip. It's just covering everything off. The main thing is he's going to bowl at the stumps, bring them into play. If there's any inconsistency, he's going to get a wicket from it, hopefully.
Broad on his way again. That one bounces a little bit on Rahane, but he's able to cover that and just drop it into the offside. He's looking for a single, but there isn't one there. Rohit Sharma is at the non-striker's end, just leaning on his bat at the moment, with a small matter of 148 to his name. He's not got going anywhere at the moment unless he needs to. 3 balls left of the over.
How many blokes get 148 and don't break sweat? He's cool as a cucumber there at the non-striker's end.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of IPL games together down the years, and there's very little difference, isn't in the approach. It's just if it's there to hit, he hits it cleanly.
He's just such a pure player, isn't he? Just a beautiful player on the eye. Keeps it very simple. He's not complicated in his technique.
Stuart Broad then, at the end of his mark, gets the ball in his fingers exactly where he wants them, and then sets off with a short ball to Rahane, who rides the bounce, helps it around the corner. Moeen Ali at deep backward square leg on the boundary will do the fielding. Single taken to take Rahane to 57, and there are 2 balls left in the over, and brings Rohit Sharma down onto strike on 148. A sparing short ball, not seen many of them, but Rahane was well in control of that one.
Yeah, but I think there's a rule sort of going around that sometimes when it's fast and bouncy, it's easier to play the short ball than actually when it's a really slow pitch. You've got to be a lot more precise with the shot, a lot more calculated in your approach as a batsman.
Crowd get excited. Rohit 148, not out. He gets one from Broad off of his pads. It's into the onside. It will go out to Jack Leach, and they will amble a single to take Rohit to 149. 227 for 3, and brings Rahane down on strike for the final ball of the over.
How good is it having a crowd in? They're just getting into the game. You can hear them clapping and cheering. They're willing Rohit on to get that 150. You just feel it. So it can be, if India are on top, it can be their 12th man.
I mean, in fairness, the people screaming and shouting on the tape loop that we've been using for the last game, they did their best. They did their best. But it is a little bit different having the real thing in. Rahane on strike. Oh, he's got a ball leg stumper, maybe outside. He's able to turn this away. Jack Leach will have to do the fielding again, and they will take a single. So Rahane will retain the strike. 228 for 3 after 67 overs here on TalkSport 2. Rahane 58 not out. Rohit 149 not out. Of course, at the end of the day today, the Following On podcast will be with you once again. We're with you every day throughout the series. We've got the match highlights, exclusive interviews and big name guests. So you can go to Following On Apple Podcasts, via Acast. It's also on Spotify and all good podcast providers. So get yourself loaded up and ready for that one. And I'm sure there's going to be an awful lot of talk about Rohit Sharma at the end of the day. Now, Joe Root is going to continue. That one over was a maiden that he sent down. So Broad's bowled 11, Stone 13, Leach 20, Stokes 2, Moeen 20, and Root is going to now start his second over. Around the wicket once again, Rahane immediately uses his feet, comes off of his pad and goes out to what would have been a silly point on the offside, but there wasn't one. There's no run. At the moment, things happen when Joe Root is in a cricket game. That's why he's bowling. Root around the wicket. Rahane's turning this into the onside. That will be a single that will bring Rohit Sharma down on strike.
I just think it's because he's kept it simple. He's looked to bring the stumps into play, which is what we've banged on about for the whole of the 6 days out of this series so far. We're into the second test match. And if you bring the stumps into play, you're a real chance.
Rohit Sharma then, 149 not out. Joe Root awaits at the end of the mark because Rohit's just gone for a little walk to compose himself, prod down a little bit of the pitch. Now he settles back in. Root around the wicket. Rohit uses his feet and then plays it back down the pitch very respectfully for Joe Root for no run.
I don't think he's liking this, Rohit Sharma. It's the first time he's showing a little bit of unease. Don't get me wrong, he's not panicking. There's a bit more unease about his play.
Root around the wicket. Rohit turns it off of his hip, past the short leg fielder and sets off for a single. He gets to 150. 208 deliveries for Rohit Sharma. 17 fours and 2 sixes. And the crowd that we've mentioned, 15,000 of them in the stadium. They're virtually all on their feet, celebrating Rohit to going to 150 as India are 230 for 3.
He's even celebrating cool and calm and pure. There's no outlandish celebration. He's just, I'm not finished yet. I've just knocked it around. I'm just getting started. He's looked in imperious form from ball one.
Forward is Rahane out on the offside, and there is no run. This is Rohit's fourth score of 150 or more in test matches. It's his second fastest 150. He made against South Africa at 199 balls. Rahane down the pitch, taking Joe Root on the full toss out on the onside, and there is no run. Gareth Batty is moving out from the summariser's chair. Matt Pryor is coming in, and one batsman to another. Just give me some thoughts on Rohit Sharma, Matt.
Well, it's been class, hasn't he? I think how he's played the spinners. I don't think this. Well, we know this isn't a flat wicket, but he's made it look a flat wicket. I think that's the biggest compliment I can give him. He's kept it very simple. He's stuck to his game plan. I think England have struggled to build pressure on him. I'm amazed Moeen Ali didn't come round the wicket a bit more, but take nothing away from his innings. The other thing I'd say about Sharma, I think, what was that? Did you say his fourth 100 over 150?
Fourth 150 plus, yeah.
So he's got 700s. So when he gets him, he goes big, and that's the crucial thing. It's, you get your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. When you get to 3 figures, to get the team in a really strong position, you've got to make it count and get that daddy 100. That's the great Graham Gooch used to call it.
Well, his best is 212. He's on 150 at the moment, and he's contributed a huge part to this Indian first innings. Jack Leach is going to bowl his left arm spin, one of the 3 wicket takers for England. Leach getting Pujara, caught by Stokes for 21 off 58 balls. That was the second wicket of the day to fall. If you weren't with us right at the start, India won the toss and batted, and Ollie Stone got Shubman Gill, LBW, third ball that Gill had faced. That was 0 for 1 halfway through the second over. And then the big wicket, Moeen Ali bowling Virat Kohli through the gate for a 5-ball duck, 86 for 3. But Rahane and Sharma have put on 144 from 280 deliveries, which means that India are now 230 for 3. Leach then to bowl around the wicket. It's turned on the onside by Rohit, and there is no run.
Macca?
Yes, Jared.
So you said 212 is his highest score in Test cricket. So his highest score in one-day cricket is 264. Let's let that settle.
Leach is in. Down the pitch is Rohit, but that has taken it outside the leg stump, I think. Actually, he's come a decent way down there, and there's no run.
His highest score in T20 internationals is 118. So that's kind of handy as well. His high score in first-class cricket is 309.
Okay. Kind of tells you where we are at the moment. He is a very, very fine batsman. Leach around the wicket to him. Rohit is playing this one, watching it off of the pitch. It straightens and he just pushes out on the offside. No run. There aren't many players in the world that can have a higher score in one-day international cricket than they can be in test matches. That's slightly befuddling, that one. Leach around the wickets. And Rohit very solidly in behind that, having nothing to do with it. He gets a round of applause from Ben Stokes and Ben Folkes behind the keeper. As Harry Hill would say, you've got to have a system. And England looking for a wicket. They need to break through. If you can get someone early before they get set, then you've got a chance. Bit of curve on that one as Rohit plays it out on the offside. Lawrence will do the fielding and they take a single. Rohit 151, Rahane is 59, India 231 for 3.
Just to go on that double century thing, so 264 versus Sri Lanka in Kolkata at Eden Gardens is the highest score in one-day internationals by anyone, and by Rohit Sharma. He's also got a 209, a 208, 171, a 162, a 159, a 152 and a 150 in ODI cricket. Almost number wanged myself then, Macca.
Leach to finish the over. Rahane from deep in the crease chops it down to Rory Burns at backward points, and that's the end of the over. 69 gone, India 231 for 3. Matt Pryor will give you some more thoughts, and I'm going to get out of the way as Neil Manthorpe takes over the ball by ball.
Just watching Joe Root walking up to his bowler Jack Leach. Imagine they'll be having a conversation. You always got to be thinking on your feet. What can we do? How can we plan? What plan can we come up with? We can't just wait. We can't just wait for the game to go away from us, particularly in this situation for England. They've got to come up with something. Do we build pressure by bowling dots? Do we go all out attack? The one thing they will be conscious of is the new ball at 80 overs, 69 overs bowled so far. Be a case of let's get to that new ball and minimising the damage and go again.
We talk a lot about the value of experience and the importance of experience, and you can't buy it on the shelves of shops. You need to go out and earn it the hard way. Here's Joe Root, and that's nudged out on the onside towards mid-wicket. I'm just wondering, Matt, sometimes inexperience can be just as important an asset. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, right now, the likes of Joe Root and Moeen Ali and Stuart Broad. And here's Root once again. It's steered away behind square, nicely pushed, guided behind square on the offside. And Ben Stokes. They were all in India 4 years ago, and Stuart Broad's been there before that. And they've seen this before. They've seen India 233 for 3, or even 250 for 1 on a pitch that's turning on the first day. And they've got it. I guess they'll be battling thoughts like, we're in trouble here. We've seen this before. They're heading towards 500. That's a sweep shot, and he doesn't make contact with it from outside the leg stump. And then I think of somebody like Ollie Pope and maybe Dan Lawrence, you know, that haven't experienced the brutality of being kept in the field for 2 days on a deteriorating pitch, and you've got a bat in response to a massive first innings score that's pushed out towards short leg, and it's fielded, very well fielded by Ollie Pope. You know, and I just sort of wonder whether it can be useful having somebody like Ollie Pope in the side, because whatever India score, you know, he'll be thinking, well, that's fine, we'll just match them, we'll go past them. Here is Root once again. Rohit plays defensively, no run.
I think one thing you are relying on is that sort of youthful exuberance, excitement of it in this situation. You need people to be bouncing around, buzzing around. If you go quiet and just sort of wait for things to happen, that's when you are in real trouble.
Root once again, he's bowling very well, and this one is flicked off his toes by Rahane, and Ollie Pope takes it somewhere on the body. He's taking his helmet off now, well, because it's the end of the over, that's why. But I think he did take it on the chin, didn't he?
No, I think he's worn it. Does it go down as a drop catch?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask Jared how official drop catches are recorded. I think you have to get your hands to it, and I don't think he can go down as a drop catch off his chin.
Well, there is no official stats in cricket. There is no, like the ICC don't keep stats on anything technically. So technically, not even runs are official. They exist and then they disappear into the ether. I would say that's not a drop catch if you're asking me.
So the interesting ones are the skiers where the fielder gets underneath it and gets nothing on it, misses it by a foot. Is it a drop catch?
So CricViz, sorry, who we're working with, they would put that down as a missed chance. So it would still be a drop even if you didn't get your hands to it, because essentially that's what we're talking about, aren't we? If a fielder doesn't get his hands up and the ball hits him in the nipple, it may not count as a drop officially to some people, but realistically he should have taken the catch.
It's drinks at the Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai, and India are 233 for 3. You can afford to reflect, Matt, on your experiences because you have been out there.
Matt never dropped a catch though. Do you ever have a difficult time in Asia in a really hot match?
Oh, you're a good bloke.
I mean, there's parts of you, aren't there, Matt, that you're going back a few years, you're going back 8 years and thinking, oh no, England could be out there for days.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the series Jared's really kindly bringing up is my first experience in Sri Lanka.
That was nasty, wasn't it? I mean, it was
Well, you're a nasty bloke, aren't you?
I meant the conditions were nasty. I'm a lovely person, but that was one of, that's good. Is that your lowest point on a field?
This is brilliant, Jared. I mean, we've been up since 1:30 in the morning, fighting through here, and now we're going into my darkest days as a cricketer. Thank you so much.
Hang on,
yes.
you might have played at the border, which is 2 metres below sea level. That'd be your lowest point on that.
No, in all seriousness, it's tough when you're in the field. I mean, that was. I was new into the team. I may as well tell the story now. I think it was Jay Warden, wasn't it? I can't quite remember. Of course, I can remember. I think he was on 20 when I dropped the catch, and he went on to get about 300 million. And that series we were stood in the field for days, literally. Sangakkara and Jay Warden, when they just check in for. They don't bat for 3 sessions. They bat for 3 days.
Was that and after they made all those runs, did Chaminda Vas run through England as well? Was that the same thing?
It was at Gaul, wasn't it? Flat wicket, and then suddenly started doing all sorts.
That's Jared Kimber pretending not to remember.
So the other thing that reminded me of is actually Rohit Sharma in the last test when he's in the field for 2 days. He gets the absolute most simple catch hit to him at the end of the second day, and he drops it. Like those sorts of things do happen to players when they're forced out in the field. It does affect other parts of your game, doesn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It's what you won't mention is I think I averaged 48 or something that series against Murali, which was handy.
I'd have to check.
Exactly, but the wicket keeping and dropping a catch is the worst feeling on a cricket pitch. You get hit for a boundary, you bowl a bad ball, fine, you recover. You get feel scratchy batting, you get out, you walk back in the it's kind of individual thing. But dropping a catch, you're letting the bowler down, you're letting the team down, and particularly when it's 35 degrees and 80% humidity, and that's their star player. You just feel horrendous. You want the ground to just open up and swallow you, but there's no way you got to go. And actually, for a wicketkeeper, that's probably one of your biggest challenges. Is how you make sure it doesn't influence making a mistake, because it's going to happen. How it doesn't influence the rest of your game.
It's really interesting when you look at the stats how little wicketkeepers drop off with the bats towards the 4th innings. So I think it's about 7 or 8% more than a batsman would drop off. But it shows you that wicketkeepers, may have the ability, even though they're more tired than everyone else, to sort of, at least in the 4th inning, still be quite handy with the bat compared to what you would expect, because they might have dropped a catch, they might have been out there for 2.5 days. So it's actually quite phenomenal that they've managed to keep that level all the way through the innings.
Because wicketkeepers are used to pain. There's no respite for them. They're in pain all the time. So when they're in pain in the 4th innings batting, it's a normal state of affairs. New over begins after the drinks break, and it's Jack Leach into the attack, and immediately turned through square leg past Ollie Pope at short leg for another single, and the score moves up to 234 for 3. Rohit Sharma 153 not out. Ajinkya Rahane on 60. That's just one small consolation for England is that they haven't dropped anything. The bad news is they haven't created a chance either. There have been chancy moments as the next one from Leach strikes Rohit on the pad, and there's no run. We've seen some super deliveries. Moeen Ali got Virat Kohli with one of the balls of the day. Pitched a foot outside off stump, snaked its way through between the gate and hit the top of middle and off. A beautiful delivery, and now down the wicket goes Rohit Sharma over the top of mid-on. England are trying to create some pressure by having mid-on and mid-off up in the circle. No easy singles, and Rohit says, I'll hit it for 4 then. And he goes straight over the top of Dan Lawrence at mid-on.
Yeah, you're right, trying to build some pressure, keeping them mid-on, mid-off up. And Sharma says, well, I'll take that on, thank you very much. And just clips it. I mean, it wasn't a clean strike, was it? But he's just clipped it wide of mid-on for another boundary. He moves to 157 now.
I was going to say it's ominously placed, but it now it's not ominous. It's gone past that point. It's huge already. Here's Jack Leach again. Forward comes Rohit, pushes that gently back to the bowler.
Well, Manners, the reality is, this morning we're looking at 250 first innings. You're in the game. 300. You'd bite your arm off for 300. 238 for 3. India now shows not only how well these two have batted, but the position England are now in.
Top edge sweep, and there's nobody on the 45 at behind square on the leg side, so it was in the air, but Ben Stokes has to do the chasing from slip, and it's another easy couple of runs to Rohit. Moves on to 159. Yeah, it's you just have to keep telling yourself that as much as you as a cricketer you tend to remember the long, hard, toiling days when you're under the pump. There are plenty of days where teams have lost 7 for 70, and the top order of platform has not been built on. And if India did lose 7 for 70, then England would be very, very happy with conceding a total of 330 from this position. That's a beauty from Jack Leach, and there's an appeal for Ben Foakes, who's whipped the bails off. I think more in celebration of the fact that the ball has beaten the bat than the fact that Rohit Sharma might have lifted his back foot. Lovely glove work from Ben Foakes. He's appealed, and Anil Chowdhury has had very, very little to do today as the third umpire. He's going to have a look at this, but I think he's safe, isn't he, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. Another fantastic take from Ben Foakes. Quick hands as well, from taking the ball to getting the bails off.
Give me the best side on, please.
It's a little bit closer than we thought.
The other side, yeah.
Okay,
the other side.
That's why Ben Foakes got very, very excited. And I'll tell you, from that angle, from the wicketkeeper's position, you can see very clearly where he's foot, and I'm pretty certain that would be out. But whether it's going to be given or not, I don't know.
Stand back.
On the basis that the point of the boot is the only part that's on the ground. Now, some other part of the boot is behind the ground, but it's the point that's in contact.
Can you show me something else?
Okay. This is interesting. Okay. This is very interesting.
You don't have the reverse one, huh?
When does the bail come off? It's very, very close. It's very, very close. We're looking at Stump Cam.
Back to the previous.
Stump Cam, you can see white. You can see
and that's what you have.
Some of the crease mark behind the boot.
Yeah.
I think Ben Foakes might have pulled a rabbit from the hat here. I think Rohit Sharma maybe he's given not out. I have to say that was the Stump Cam for me was the one that you could see some whitewash behind the boot from the Stump Cam, so that would suggest that the foot was definitely on the line. Well, goodness me, that'll be a talking point.
Yeah, it's a tough one to give. Absolutely a tough one to give. The umpire would go with the on-field decision. I mean, it'd be a real big call to say, yeah, that's out. I definitely know it is, but I'm pretty certain because Ben Foakes took the bails off and he went up immediately. And you can see from the view you have as a wicketkeeper of exactly where the line is and if there is anything behind the line. And it's not like his foot moved either. It didn't lift or anything else. His toe was positioned in that spot. And I think Ben Foakes is slightly unlucky.
India are 240 for 3. Here is Joe Root, starts a new over, using his feet down the wicket comes Ajinkya Rahane and flicks it away through mid-wicket. It will be fielded by Stuart Broad. If you were to take 10 umpires, professional umpires, put them in a room and just gave them the footage, removed any sign of who was who and what was the game and what was the context, do you think Root in again played defensively? Do you think 6 out of 10 might have said it was out?
A bit controversial. Taking out who is very crucial in that comment, Manners. But I'd say 9 out of 10 would give that not out.
Not out. Okay. Here is Root once again, and that's pushed out towards short leg. Well fielded by Ollie Pope. Very well fielded indeed. Gosh, he's become very good.
And that I suppose is my point. The angle that Ben Folkes would have, and the vision. I mean, we're seeing replays now. The position he's in, he can see exactly which part of the boot is over the line. Every camera angle there you see, there is an element of guesswork in it. So it's very difficult to give out.
Root off the back foot, punched away square of the wicket on the offside. Moeen Ali's giving chase, and he will haul it back 5 or 6 yards before it reaches the boundary. India up to 243 for 3. All right, so we're satisfied then. It's 90%. That's not even controversial. If 1 out of 10 umpires would.
Well, if you're a wicket keeper and you've done the work, it is controversial because you know it's out.
Okay, all right. Okay, okay. Here is Joe Root once again, and outside the leg stump, turns quite sharply out of the rough, and beautifully taken again by Folkes.
That is outstanding. I mean, that for a wicketkeeper to what I'll just a wide ball going bowling round the wickets, thrown it too wide down the leg side in the rough.
Turns and bounces, and he has to take it as like left shoulder. His last ball of the over is again played defensively, and there is no run. Just before I hand over to Mark Nicholas, a reminder that Saturday's game day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 as we bring you 5 exclusive national radio commentaries from the Premier League and the EFL, including a huge top 4 clash as Leicester host Liverpool at 12:30, top of the table Man City against Tottenham at 5:30, and Brighton against Aston Villa at 8 p.m. Over to you, Mark Nicholas, with India 243 for 3.
Yes, a formidable position given, 87 for 3 all that time ago. They just played really well. Sometimes you can overanalyze it a bit. England have bowled pretty well without being perfect by any means, but pretty good. And these two have batted with calm and precision and no little style, you have to say. Jack Leach back here with these left arm spinners of his that have been pretty steady all day. He's just started to drop short a bit, which is exactly what he does there, and Rahane gets away from the ball and plays a glorious cut stroke for 4.
Yeah, we've seen that shot a few times today from Rahane. It's exactly what he's waiting for. The spin bowler just to drop marginally short, steps back very quickly, gets a good base and punches it through the offside. Great timing again. It's been a feature, that shot's been a feature of his batting all day.
Yeah, a feature of his batting, full stop, isn't it? Nice to have, even though it's only 15,000, only a third full, it is nice to hear the horns and the squeals and the shouts and the applause from 15,000 spectators as Rahane works that to mid-wicket, but for no run as Stone is quickly to his right and slides. Got 2 hats on. 2 hats, Ollie. Both wide-brimmed sun hats, first made famous by Greg Chappell and Majid Khan all those many years ago. Leach again, little hop, skip and a jump to the crease, and he delivers a very good length ball that's nicely played. They've had beautifully, we talk soft hands in batting, which means a soft grip on the bat, and that's why the ball runs off the blade behind point with the spin, even though it's been met with a good straight blade, and riding the spin and bounce a bit is the batsman. And there's a fine sweep shot hitting down on the length of the ball out to Moeen Ali at deep backward square, and Rahane getting more and more confident. I think 66 now from 141 balls.
Yeah, fantastic to see spectators back in, and lovely for us watching, but I imagine for the players as well. It must be great to have people in the grounds again. I wonder what the effect would be to play in empty cricket grounds.
Rohit Sharma on 161 on strike here to Jack Leach, and he leaves alone outside off stump, which was a wise decision because the ball pitched a little outside off stump and really gripped and spun and bounced so high that Ben Folkes had to do a little leap to take the ball. Ben Folkes is the one at slip usually. Again Leach bowls, and again the sweep shot, and yes, caught in the deep by Moeen Ali, who took it nice and calmly, and for the first time the sweep doesn't work for Rohit Sharma, and after a long vigil, after 231 balls, after some glorious stroke play, a very fine innings comes to an end.
Yeah, fantastic knock, Rohit Sharma, 161 off 231 balls, really led from the front all day for this Indian batting lineup. Goes down on one knee, tries to attack Leach again as he has done all day. Sweep shot's been effective for him, but gets it uppish. He didn't try and hit it up, he tried to hit it down, but ball bounced a little bit, top edge. Out to Moeen Ali in the deep, who does take it nonchalantly, it must be said. Very calm Moeen Ali. India now 248 for 4 here on TalkSport 2.
Yep, he gets standing ovation. He should too. He's a wonderful player, and we must never forget the game is about entertaining those who watch it. It brings enormous pleasure to people who have had a pretty rough old year, and I'm not surprised at the enormity of his reception. All his players too standing and waiting. And Rishabh Pant has already made it to the middle and had a pat on the shoulder or two, a little rub indeed, from Ajinkya Rahane. And so England, this will be fascinating, won't it? Now the advent of Rishabh Pant.
Absolutely, you know you've got a batsman who's coming, he wants to be aggressive, you're going to get a chance. But now talk about going through the gears. England have got, I mean, it must be said, a bit of a gift there. They almost didn't expect that. Sharma top edge in. England get the wicket, they get the breakthrough, and now it's, can you turn it back up? Can you go through the gears very quickly as a team, all 11? Get round your bowler, get round your captain, and put pressure on the new batsman. Because if you can get 2-3 wickets now, you pull it back completely.
Absolutely, and it's the only way to think. I mean, there is no option, there is no alternative. You have to believe that by the close you can have India 7 down. You just have to believe it, and then wow, that's a different perspective on the day, isn't it?
That's it, and it comes down to again, you can only imagine Joe Root in that team huddle as drinks would have been run out. He would have gathered the group together and said, right guys, here's our chance, come on, we've got to pile in, kick this door down, open it up, and let's see if we can finish the day strong.
And we kind of think it'll be hard to start for any batsman, and we know that Pant would love to take the attack to the England bowlers.
Well, there's plenty in this wicket for the England bowlers to use, but again, it's the basics. Can you build pressure on the new batsman? Make him do something. Make him take a risk.
Well, you've got Moeen Ali, who has a very good record against left-handers. He's going to come round the wicket, and he'll bowl. There's a slip in place at the moment, but I think Root's sort of rethinking. It's all taking a bit of time. It always takes a bit longer than it should, really. The players could be more ready. Okay, it's a slip and a short leg, and a man on the drive on the offside. So pretty orthodox. There is a deep extra cover. There's a backward point and a mid-off on the offside. And here comes Moeen Ali. Oh no, it's full toss. He bowled a full toss to Ajinkya Rahane first ball. And in fact, Pant is so surprised, he just prods it gently to straightish mid-wicket and gets nothing for it. They must be playing on Rahane in the first test, who drove a full toss only to see it brilliantly caught by Joe Root. Oh, that's a ball. Back goes Pant, and it spins and bounces that, well, so much that Folkes takes it almost in front of first slip at about chest height. What a cracking delivery. Was it worth having a gully in there?
Oh, definitely.
I'd say. In comes Moeen Ali again. Bowls a full ball at middle and leg, which is blocked dismissively by Rishabh Pant.
So I think it's a bit of a giveaway where Moeen's head is at here. He's got a long on back. And that's a massive shot for the left-hander to come down and try and hit it over long on.
Well, I suppose as he blocks on the front foot, they're thinking that it doesn't make much difference to him. He's not somebody who likes to sort of milk singles. He's a big shot player, but I agree, mid-on against the spin. They've got mid-off up and mid-on back. I'd rather have him try, dance down and try. If he wants to hit it over, have them both up, without a doubt. Anyway, he hasn't. Here's Moeen Ali again. That's a little prod. Loops up in the air, short of Moeen Ali. So as we thought, much more difficult for any batsman, however gifted, to start. Every ball searching.
Yep, we're getting a true view of what this wicket is actually like. Rahane and Sharma making it look very easy, but it's far from that.
Well, I think always with spin it's difficult to start. That's missing leg stump. They appeal for LBW, but it didn't spin. Had it done so and he'd missed it, well, that would have been close. Anyway, a bit of a mixed over, but the key thing is it's got the wicket of Rohit Sharma. That's the key thing from England's point of view. From India's point of view, of course, it's still a strong position. 248 for 4. Matt Pryor is taking a breather, and Darren Gough has arrived, and a useful moment for England, and much more than that, really needed a real boost.
And 48 for 4. Now India, a huge wicket. Like I say, you've just got to break a partnership. You've got to be able to bowl at one end and bring Rishabh Pant to the crease, who we know likes to play a few shots. He might just give us something. That's why he's brought his best 2 spinners on into the attack. Jared?
I just want to ask both of you if you would have given out that stumping. You can think about it. I put up a Twitter poll, that's why.
Here we go, 248 for 4, and it's a good ball. Jack Leach a bit flatter, a bit quicker, firing it at middle and leg, seeing if he could get it to rip a glove off. It didn't. He defended it, did Rahane. Inside edge onto pad, rolls out onto the leg side. Oof.
Would you have given it, Mark?
Hang on, I'm just working on... Is that out? Is that out? Did he hit that onto his pad? I'm not sure he did. Nor, incidentally, is the umpire Virender Sharma. Do England review it? Joe Root does. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's massive. If they got Rahane now...
Well, Ben Folkes was convinced. He was the one nodding his head. Yes, definitely, he thinks he hit it. Rory Burns is shaking his head as well and saying, yeah, they're all pretty convinced. I don't think Joe Root's 100%, but it'll be interesting. It's a massive moment, this, for the game.
It is. Does he hit it onto his pad? That's the question. He may have got a little edge. I wonder. It's all going to depend.
One more time. And
difficult.
Very hard.
When you're ready.
See, the trouble is his bat also hits the ground. I wonder what that'll show up on the little graph we're about to see.
Stand by.
You're listening to the umpires. The third umpire, incidentally, Anil Chowdhury.
Okay, Ultra is coming, boys.
Ultra Edge will be making this decision, I can tell you that.
Keep rolling. Flat line. Let it touch the pad. Yeah. No bat involved. Yeah. Go to the on-field umpire. Virender, you're on a screen. Stay with your call.
All right. So you've heard it. No bat involved. And what happened? I think I got that one right. That the bat hit the ground, and that was the two noises.
Virender,
the bat hitting the ground.
You can signal now. Stay with your call.
So
He wasn't quite convinced there, the umpire, what call he'd originally given. Did you know? He said, did I give him out or not out? I can't remember. Stick with the original call. And he's there thinking, I can see him ticking over there. Well, I'm not quite so sure. Well, they convinced England. Absolutely convinced.
Well, you know what they're doing now? Interesting. England are gathered because they've probably asked for a review on LBW. That's all I can imagine. They're all standing together in a huddle. They want it looked at again for LBW. They want to be sure that it's been checked for both dismissals after their appeal and review. England together in a huddle. So let's have a look.
No.
That's fine.
We can see the TV. For our listeners, it's pitched a long way outside leg stump, and that's the end of that. So The second one that England have got wrong today. But on that occasion, with the two noises, I can see why they reviewed for the catch. And then Joe Root, now I see. Okay, so he's now also asked if it didn't clip the glove or the bat on the way from the pad. And the umpire says no, it didn't. That's his decision out in the middle. And Joe's tried everything he knows. He might ask for the run out in the middle.
Well, it didn't have much success with the reviews for Jack Leach in the last Test match. It seems to be all the reviews are off Jack's bowling.
Well, maybe that's because he's bowling the most threatening balls the most often. That could be a credit to Jack, who's into his 23rd over, 2 for 61 he has. Here we go again. And Rahane drives a full ball gently, actually, to mid-on, and there's no run in it. Yeah, Leach has bowled well again, very steady. You know, he's exactly what it says on the tin, an efficient left-arm spinner. And a big-hearted man. He is ready to bowl again now. And back goes Rahane, really using the crease well, a long way back, almost onto his stumps, and he defends out onto the offside. And I know what you mean about Virender Sharma, the umpire there. He just looked a bit worried about that. I suppose if you're not vastly experienced, you know, waiting for that DRS decision and then remembering which of the many signals is not easy. Forward goes Rahane, defends on the front foot, and there's no run. So what? Oh no! Now we've seen something on television that is massive. Massive. I'll tell you about it in a second. There's a little sweep and an ask now for LBW by Leach that's been turned down. Well, what we saw on television was a replay of Ultra Edge. The question Joe Root asked about what happened off the bat after a decision had been made, whether the ball went from the bat or pad to the glove. And it did go from the pad to the glove by the look of it. At least that's what Ultra Edge says, that it comes from pad to glove and then goes up to the fielder. So that's quite dramatic. 249 for 4 at the end of that over. Could Rahane have got away with one here?
I think he has. Absolutely huge. I mean, you heard the captain, Joe Root, saying, what about off his glove as the ball's popped up? It's just obviously something they didn't check for. They checked everything else except the out decision.
Well, that's a mistake by the third umpire, Anil Chowdhury, because even if the umpire in the middle hasn't seen that and says no it didn't, which is what he said to Joe, I suppose the third umpire is responsible for checking all forms of dismissal. And and a huge spinning off break that hits the thigh pad quite firmly there. Rahane is well back, gets his hands out of the way. It's going now. Such a change when a wicket falls. Feels like a different game of cricket. And again, and he now sweeps, he bowled him! Moeen Ali has got the wicket of Ajinkya Rahane. It's worked for England. So the disappointment of that review going wrong is immediately dealt with by a terrific flighted ball that drew the sweep from Rahane. He missed, Moeen Ali hit.
Oh, it's a big wicket for England, and a big wicket for Moeen Ali, who's bowled too many bad balls throughout the day. But that one, too full to sweep, landed in just at the popping crease, and there you go, and bowled by Moeen Ali. A fantastic wicket for Moeen. India, 2 wickets falling in quick succession. It's a big spell now coming up for England and India. Rahane goes for 67 off 149 deliveries, and it's 249 for 5 here on TalkSport 2. A massive moment.
Well, it is, my gosh it is, because we've got 2 new batsmen in. So Rahane's superb innings comes to a close, and I guess it's just a little reminder, you know, the margins are small in this game and a lot's happening to the ball now. Extra bounce for spinners. Spin, yes, but that's one thing. Extra bounce is another. And yeah, so 249 for 5. As I say, another couple tonight, and the whole feel of the day will be different. It already is to some degree. England are understandably badgering away at Virender Sharma, but it's really not his fault. He's the umpire in the middle. It was the umpire Anil Chowdhury who had the responsibility, given England were appealing and reviewing, having been turned down. He should have checked all possibilities, and one of them was that the ball came from the pad to the gloves, and that's what it did. But anyway, that's gone. Rahane's out. We must always look forward in life if we can. So it's Ashwin, who's taken guard. Yes, that's right. He's going to have his hands full here, I think. If Moeen Ali can get it to rip out of the rough, there's a short leg in there. I'd have a silly point to start with too, or maybe a leg slip depending on the line he decides on. But if he's going to bowl outside off stump, I might have a silly point. Ashwin, of course, is a great fighter out in the middle. He lasted a long time in the first test, in the first innings. 249 for 5. Two new batsmen, both on naught, Rishabh Pant and Ashwin. An entirely different game to talk about, a much quieter crowd. Yes, a slip, a short leg, a short mid-wicket, 3 in the covers, saving a single. Here we go, Moeen Ali. Down goes Ashwin straight away, gets right to the pitch of the ball, shows his intent. Doesn't want to let Moeen Ali bowl, that's the thing.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? You've got to keep going as a fielding team. Matt talked about it earlier on. You get 1 wicket, one brings 2, brings 3.
It's a good ball, goes off the inside edge to Ollie Pope at short leg, who's done a valiant job there all day.
Especially when the ball's turning as it is now, the odd one bouncing. It's a good time to bowl now. England are trying to put that pressure, turn the screw. 2 batsmen on naught.
Down goes Ashwin, beautiful batting. Gets to the pitch and mid-on's just a bit too deep. I think that's bad thinking. You've got to be stopping the single there. I know you're floating a bit, but really you want to keep... Well, I suppose you can bowl at either of the new batsmen, but it probably shouldn't have been a single. I don't want to get picky. We've just had, in the last 23 balls, 2 for 7. 2 wickets for 7 runs. 250 for 5. Rishabh Pant on strike to Moeen Ali. Oh, for Pant's wicket early, thinks Joe Root. Mid-on and mid-off up. Moeen Ali bowls a good ball. Pant is back defending. It doesn't spin like the one that was that length before. It's the end of the over. And Goffey will give you a word at 250 for 5 here on TalkSport 2, and then it'll be Andrew McKenna.
Yeah, 250 for 5 on TalkSport 2 is looking really good part of the game, big part of the game coming up here, because we're all excited. Hands up if anybody's interested in the Leach versus Pant spectacle we're hopefully going to get over the next 15-20 minutes. And Ashwin just come to the crease, a very experienced campaigner. He's a good player. I think he's got quite a few hundreds under his belt. Is it 4? I think 400s Ashwin's got. And Axar Patel to come, he can bat as well. So it's a big half hour here for England and India.
Cool, not half. When I spoke to Sandro Di Michele from 888 Sports at Tea, England was 6-1 at that point. The last 15 minutes or so, I'm not saying they're now favourites by any manner of means, but they're not. I bet they're not a 6-1 shot anymore. 250 for 5. And this suddenly looks a completely different day. When India were 248 for 3, they looked absolutely dominant, with Rohit 160 not out, Rahane in the 60s himself. But England have just got 2 absolutely huge wickets. And let's not forget that both of them could have been dismissed slightly earlier than they were. For me, all ends up Rohit Sharma is stumped. I'm sorry, that is out. And then we had the quite farcical third umpire review where he didn't roll the footage on far enough. Fortunately, neither have cost England greatly. They have 2 new men at the crease, and it's 250 for 5. Ashwin is going to be on strike with 2 slips in place, as Jack Leach is going to bowl left arm around the wicket to him. He's coming down the pitch, hit towards mid-on, and it will land short and wide of Joe Root, but he's clothed that Ashwin, hasn't hit it properly at all, and it only just goes wide of Joe Root, and he takes 2. It's almost like this is the last couple of overs of a one-day international all of a sudden.
I think what we've seen though, Ian Macker, is but a point where they've got a decent score, 250. It's not enough, by the way, because if England do really bat well in that first innings, it turns the pressure totally on India, but they're going to try and up the scoring rate.
Leach goes in, bat and pad close together from Ashwin, inside portion of the bat, goes out on the leg side. Ben Folkes will go out and collect. They take a single.
And the reason is to stop England attacking here, because they've got 2 spinners on. They're attacking the batsmen. They look dangerous. They look in the game. There's turn, there's bounce, there's men round the bat. So what you might find from these 2 batsmen, especially Rishabh Pant, is to play a few shots and try and get those fielders out of the way.
Well, the umpires, I think, are going to be seeing quite a lot of footage of the non-decisions, because it was quite bizarre that Joe Root was almost taking them through what it was that England were actually appealing for. earlier on. But anyway, look, that is gone. It's in the book. And now Rishabh Pant is on strike. He's yet to get off the mark. He's faced 7 deliveries, but he is up against Jack Leach. Now, Jack Leach is going to bowl left arm over to Rishabh Pant. We've seen a lot of balls going through the top, dusting from about the 9th over of the day. Leach goes in. What's he going to do, Pant? Oh, he leans back and plays it beautifully away through point, all along the floor. Why has that not got a huge cheer from the crowd? We've got 15,000 people in. That's a glorious shot away for 4, and they're just sort of sitting back in their seats and clapping politely.
Again, you could say there's a bit of risk to the shot. It's turning out of the footholes to the left-hander, left-arm spinner into the footholes to the left-handed batsman. He's gone deep in the crease, and he's cut it just a little bit too short. Give him any room whatsoever, Pant, and he absolutely cashes in. What a terrific shot that was.
Wow, what a way to get off the mark. First day of the second test match. After this one completes, there's a week's gap as the parties all move up to Ahmedabad, and of course the first match in the newly rebuilt stadium. Small matter of 110,000 capacity stadium. Won't be that, of course, for the game, but even 50% in that is still a huge venue, and it's a day-night game as well. Then a second game in Ahmedabad to finish things off. And then we get into the white ball games. Every ball of the series exclusively live on TalkSport 2, of course. Leach is in once again. Oh, that's spitting and turning out of the rough, turning into the onside. Panthers played it down into the ground. England have a short leg. That would have been sort of a short, silly mid-on in business there. But Goffey, there's definitely something there for Jack Leach. Leach is in again. Now Pant has gone outside off stump, got down on one knee and paddled it around to short, fine leg. That is a remarkable shot in any form of cricket, let alone a test match. It takes him to 5 as he takes a single, 258 for 5.
Exactly, we're going to see this from Rishabh Pant. He's going to play it as though it's a one-day game. This is the way he plays. He's an excitable player. He's going to try and turn the screw on these England spin bowlers and score at a decent rate and try and get India over 300.
Ashwin is back on strike, the right-hander. He allows this one, which is an arm ball from Jack Leach, to just go on through to Ben Foakes, the wicket-keeper, to complete the 77th over. So 3 overs away from a new ball being available. India 258 for 5 here on TalkSport 2. Jared Kimber is our analyst.
Goffey, would you have given that stumping out earlier?
Yes, because I'm a bowler's umpire.
Macca?
Oh, I gave it out, absolutely.
Okay.
It's out. I even voted in your poll, so I am one of your votes.
So I put it up, a Twitter poll, 10-minute one. 66% of people said they would have given it out. So that's still 1 in 3 people saying they wouldn't give it out.
That's why they're not umpires.
Now, what I would say is that I think, if you can make a decision either way there, I think it's quite close. You could have come up with reasons to give that not out or out. The second mistake that the third umpire made, though, was a far more egregious one, in that the third umpire has forgotten the protocol of what a third umpire is, and it's possibly because they're not specialist third umpires.
Moeen Ali goes in. Oh my goodness, that looked like it was going to go 1.5 foot down leg side. It spun, ripped into the body of Pant. He takes it on the body and it just drops down in front of him. No run.
Well, the happier the two teams at the moment are going to be India, aren't they? Got runs on the board, and the ball is definitely turning more than last week's pitch.
Pant is back to Moeen Ali, pushing back down the pitch. No run. Jared, just carry on.
Yeah, so essentially the umpire is supposed to check all the dismissals, because once you appeal, you are appealing for everything. So the fact that the umpire forgot the LBW to begin with was already a mistake by the third umpire.
Moeen around the wicket to Pant, pushes out on the offside, takes a couple of paces down the pitch as if he's thinking of single, but there isn't one.
And then the second mistake is then once the ball's hit the pad, you are supposed to roll it forward. You often hear them say it, roll it on a bit, because they want to see what happens after it hits the pad. That's what the umpire forgot to do. Now, a lot of us in the media think that there should be specialist third umpires.
Moeen in around the wicket. Once again, bat and pad close together, pushing out just wide of Ollie Pope under the helmet at short leg.
Because knowing what to ask for and knowing how the technology works and all these things actually help you a lot. It's a completely different skill than normal umpiring now. And I think we saw a real error there just in the basic protocols of how to do a third umpire decision.
Moeen Ali in. Rishabh Pant has whipped this away. It goes to Ollie Stone at backward square leg for no run. And just on that, Jared, and I presume it's related to that, England have been given a review back. They have now been given 2 reviews.
We saw that in South Africa as well, where there was a problem with the protocol there, and you get the review back.
I mean, it doesn't help them in terms of the decision, but at least they've got the review. To finish the over, Moeen Ali is around the wicket, and it's been pushed back down the pitch. No run. 2:58 for 5 here on TalkSport 2. Gossy.
Just a question: if this was a county game in England and it was televised and we were all watching it, would we be saying there's too much turn on day one of a county championship match?
Well, Somerset would already be penalised for next county season, wouldn't they, for a pitch like this?
Well, we would, wouldn't we? We'd be talking about it. It'd be news because this is a test match. Yes, it's in India, but the ball from ball one is turning, it's bouncing. Yet, when you look at the score, India are 258 for 5.
Cardiff and Somerset have been done for pitches that I don't think have spun anything more than here, and the batsmen have gone on to score runs.
So what we have to do, as we always say, when both sides have batted and bowled on it, we get a better idea on what sort of pitch it actually is. Because 258 for 5, the way I'm looking at it at this moment in time, looks a good score to me. Looks a very good score.
Well, the other interesting thing is they put a graphic up on the TV before, and it said that it spun more after lunch than it did before lunch. It's just that the ball has slowed down, and the batsmen have played it a little bit better.
Jack Leach is going to bowl the 79th over of this particular innings, so we are getting very close to new ball territory, but with it spitting and turning and jumping and bouncing, there'll certainly be a question in Joe Root's mind. Although, will it do any more for the seamers? On this occasion, Ashwin is coming down the pitch using his feet, hits to mid-off. Lawrence will field and take a single. 2:59 for 5.
And what about a rare occasion? Both spinners taking the new ball. Because I think they've both taken the new ball in the past, haven't they? Jack Leach definitely has, and I think Moeen has done it as well. So that could be interesting.
Absolutely. We are nominally 8 minutes away from the close of play, but there's 11 overs to go when we get to the end of this one, so we're going to be in for plenty of overtime this evening. Pant's going to come down the wicket to Jack Leach, and he's hoiked him into the stand at mid-wicket, and the cheer goes up. We would have had a few of those a few days ago in the first test match, but the stadium was empty. Now Rishabh Pant's getting into his work. They're going to enjoy that. The third 6 of the innings, 265 for 5.
What a terrific shot from Rishabh Pant. Comes down the wicket, gets to the pitch of it, and we've all seen this shot before. He comes down, hits with the spin, over deep mid-wicket, get the sanitizer out, because every time it gets in for 6, it has to be sanitised.
There's a phrase you never thought you'd use in cricket commentary.
You wouldn't, would
Get
you?
the sanitizer
It's
out.
mad. What a world we live in.
Yes.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6 different people touched that ball. It's been sanitised, and we're ready to go again.
Well, it's a good point, because the point was made that if you have to sanitise the ball, then if it's reversing, would it do it anymore? Obviously now, with only 10 deliveries to go to the new ball.
As long as it doesn't stop it spinning, Macca, at this moment in time.
Exactly.
Don't worry about reverse.
Right then. Slip, short leg. Getting down, and Rishabh Pant is down on one knee, outside of off stump again, trying to carve it into the leg side. So yeah, these are the protocols and the things we'd never thought we'd have to consider with cricket and live sport, but all of these things have to be taken into account now that there is a crowd back in the ground. Leach is in, gives that one a bit of loop outside of off stump, and he's forward, playing forward defensively, no run.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually torn. I want actually Rishabh Pant to bat the way he does and entertain us, because I really enjoy watching him bat, but I also want Jack Leach to get him out, because it gives England a better chance of winning the game.
Absolutely. I know exactly where you're coming from. Leach is in. That one doesn't really turn. Pant deep in his crease, punching through mid-wicket, and will amble his way down for a single. Pant therefore goes to 12, 266 for 5.
He's definitely one of those cricketers, isn't he, Rishabh Pant? When he comes down the wicket, he doesn't come down to push one, does he? When he comes down, he's hitting it.
He doesn't really care where it is at the end, does
But
he?
he's hitting deep mid-wicket, isn't he? Mid on to deep mid-wicket. Every single time he backs himself to get a clean enough strike for it to go all the way.
He's sounding the bugle, definitely. Leach to finish the over. Ashwin just plays defensively. And that is 79 overs in the book England have sent down. It's TalkSport 2. It's Saturday morning. It's India 266 for 5. We are going to be in for a little bit of overtime today, but of course it's not going to interrupt the football later on. Here on TalkSport 2, Nottingham Forest against Bournemouth. in the Championship. 12:30 kick-off over on TalkSport. Leicester against Liverpool at 12:30. So you've got a choice of listening, so swipe on your app or get your preset button set on your DAB radio.
And it gives you a clue how hard it is to start on this sort of pitch, Macca, because if you look at the wickets, they've been in clusters. One at 85 and one at 86, and then one at 248 and one at 249. So in between that, you get yourselves in, you can still score and score at a comfortable rate. But when you first get to the crease, it's very difficult to see the amount of bounce, to see the amount of turn, and that's what's going to be difficult. But wickets can fall very, very quickly. It's about building partnerships, coming in, getting used to the pace of the ball, getting used to the turn, getting used to the bounce. Exactly what Joe Root did in that first test in Chennai last week. His first 50 came off, 12 deliveries? His first 12 were off 54 deliveries, and then after that he just cashed in and played some unbelievable shots.
It is going to be Moeen Ali to Rishabh Pant for the 80th over. England are stationing a long on. There is still a short leg and a slip. It's as Ben Folkes says, nice from that Mo. It's full, straight, not hittable, so Pant just pushes back down the pitch, no run. Mid-wicket in place. Drive man at extra cover. Mid-off slightly deep as Moeen Ali goes in. That is an absolute beauty that rips and turns and bounces. It goes down to short third man, I think off of his body. Just waiting to see the umpire signal. No, it's been given as runs.
Just to give the listeners some kind of idea, I mean, comparing this to last week, this was happening on day 3 last week and the test match at the same ground, but we're seeing this happening on the day 1 now, where that ball is pitching on leg stump to a left-hander and turning, and it would have missed off stump. So that is the difference between the two pitches from last week to this week.
Moeen Ali goes in. That's a wide-ish low full toss, and Ashwin will hit it through the covers, and although there's 2 men after that one, they're not going to cut it off. And Ashwin coming in at number 7. He's too good a batsman to miss out on those. It's a boundary that takes him to 9, and India 271 for 5.
Yeah, just as England were building the pressure, it's a poor delivery from Moeen Ali. A full toss to Ashwin. He's such a good player, underrated player actually with a bat. We know he's the genius with a ball, but with a bat he just opens his face, full toss. He can hit it absolutely anywhere on that offside, can afford to miss the fielder, and it runs away again, fast outfield, 4 runs.
Moeen Ali was coming into Ashwin then, but Ashwin wasn't ready, so he looked up, saw him on the way, and so backed away. Moeen Ali will therefore go back to the end of his mark, come past umpire Menon, and on this occasion Ashwin is again driving into the offside, but finds the fielder at short extra cover, and there is no run.
Yeah, he missed out there. He would have been disappointed with that. It was right there, right under his eye line. Could have done exactly the same, just opened the first slightly, and it would have been another 4, but it hit the fielder on that offside.
Ashwin stands tall and then sort of crouches a little bit as the bowler is coming in. He's whipped this one, I think, just short of Ollie Pope at short leg. It goes through Ollie Pope and it's picked up by the fielder behind him. But again, that's roundabout off stump. It's been whipped right through the short leg fielder. Looking to play it with the spin. Moeen goes in again. Ashwin plays this one back down the pitch, and that is 80 overs bowled in the innings, which means a new ball is available to England if they want to take it. The former England fast bowler Darren Gough will give you his thoughts on what England are likely to do for the final 20-25 minutes of today's play.
Well, there is a new ball here. I think most places in the world now, you get your fast bowlers on and you'll be taking the new ball. But when you're in India or you're Pakistan, you're Sri Lanka, spin plays a massive part of it. And I think Moeen Ali, this is probably his best spell. Poor delivery the last over to Ashwin, a full toss. But other than that, I think he's got his pace right. He's got his line right. There's turn, there's bounce to both players. I think you're going to find, but Rishabh Pant's going to try and attack the spin. And Ashwin will just, like I say, every so often he likes to use his feet and come down and hit straight down the ground. But he's just having a chat with his senior bowler, Stuart Broad. He seemed to be just limping there slightly, didn't he, Stuart Broad? He's having a little chat. I still think Joe Root will stick with spin.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have a bowl himself.
He is. It was one of those that, had he handed it to Stuart Broad and said, go on, have a couple of looseners and we'll take the new nuts, you could have seen. But then Broad walked away. Joe Root kept hold of it. and he is indeed going to have a bowl himself. So we're now at the overtime period. This is the scheduled close of play, but we've got half an hour to complete the 10 overs that are still unbowled. Root has bowled 4, 0 for 7 so far, and he's going to bowl around the wicket to Pant, who beats him outside the off stump. Pant is reaching forward at this one. It goes just past the outside edge, and it's through to the keeper Ben Folkes, and there is no run. Goffey's moved out. Gareth Batty and Matt Pryor are in alongside us as we see another one go through the top and turn. Joe Root back to his mark, now comes in. Pant is playing into the offside. Will take a comfortable single as Rory Burns comes round and collects. 272 for 5. Gareth.
Yeah, the captain coming on and straight away hitting a perfect length. Line possibly could have been a tiny bit straighter, but getting good purchase. Hitting a perfect speed to ball on this surface. Great trajectory. Luring and defeating the outside edge of Pant.
So 272 for 5. Well, everyone changing over for the right-handed Ashwin. He's got 9 from 12, and they've got a deep backward square leg and a deep mid-wicket on the boundary, and mid-on is very deep as well as cover for Joe Root. He's also got men around the bat, and that is bat and pad close together. It looped up in the air. It lands in the middle of the pitch with Joe Root smiling as if to say, well, there was no one could have possibly have caught that, to ask the question. Again, Joe Root is looking dangerous. We saw him take wickets in South Africa last winter. He's around the wicket once again to the right-handed Ashwin, who's got a leading edge or maybe even the back of the bat. It loops up. Rory Burns is having to go, well, within 10 metres of the rope down at very fine leg, and a couple will be taken. Ashwin goes to 11, 274 for 5.
Now this looked to me, Macca, as they'd gone through the shot and it hit the glove as he sort of played the shot a little bit early, and it's looped up over Rory Burns at leg slip. Just this angle from around the wicket from the off spinner, because it's spinning as much as it is, it just feels like it brings in more modes of dismissal.
Root around the pitch. Ashwin comes to meet it, squeezes it down towards third man. Ben Stokes will set off from slip and gather. They will take a couple. 276 for 5 are India.
Come on then, bats, why have they not taken the new ball? Even if you keep the spinners on, why have they not taken the new ball?
If I'm brutally honest, in the last 20 minutes I felt like there could have been a wicket any time. There's plenty happening, and just the one thing about the new ball, it can just sort of spew off in areas and it can go quicker into gaps, and I feel like there's enough happening for England to take wickets here.
Final ball of the over then. Root around the wicket to Ashwin. Ashwin's going to use his feet, hit it back to Joe Root, who fires it straight back to Ben Folkes, as Ashwin had taken a couple of paces down the pitch due to his momentum. Root actually apologises to Ashwin as it was fairly close to him, but that's 81 overs gone. Some more thoughts from Gareth and Matt, and also Jared Kimber's going to come in. Neil Manthorpe will take you through on the ball by ball through to the close of play though.
Gareth Batty, Moeen Ali has bowled 7 full tosses. Jack Leach has bowled 9. Moeen Ali's bowled 45 very, very full balls that haven't been full tosses. Is there a reason why there's been so many full tosses bowled today? Seems like a lot from 2 finger spinners compared to what you might expect from wrist spinner.
Yeah, I can't really answer for Jack, but certainly for Mo, I think he's tried to bowl more square spin. And we do know with square spin the ball travels a little bit further because you don't have the overspin to make the ball drop. So I would suggest that is a very good reason why Mo has been a little bit fuller. Plus, first game for 16, 18 months possibly as well. But I'm going more for the shape of the ball as opposed to being out of Test cricket for a while.
Have they bowled well, do you think, Manny?
I was just about to ask Gareth Batty that. Spin coach. Say, spin coach, what do you think? Well, I'll tell you now, I think they've bowled terribly today.
Moeen in once more around the wicket, and Rishabh Pant comes forward and plays defensively.
The wicket that is in front of them, to bowl that many full tosses, they've released pressure, they've just bowled too many bad balls.
Here's Moeen, forward comes Pant again playing defensively, and there's no run.
And they'll look at it and say 5 wickets, yep, short, but 276 runs on this wicket I think is too many. If we're going to be completely honest, and if the England team and England bowlers are going to be brutally honest, they will think they've had a poor day.
Forward comes Pant again to Moeen, pushing to Rory Burns. would you? I'm giving you a chance to review your terribly, because if they bowled terribly, they wouldn't have bowled any good balls. But they bowled some very good balls and some poor ones. Here is a reverse sweep from Rishabh Pant. He's hit it beautifully over the man who becomes backward square leg, who was backward point. That's a really well played reverse sweep from Rishabh Pant. They haven't been. You like consistency, Matt, don't you? And that's not been there today.
Well, I think that's a crucial element. This England team are talking about they want to be the best in the world, etc., etc. You want to win away. They played brilliantly last Test match, absolutely granted. But you have to be able to build pressure in Test match cricket. You have to be able to hit a line and length consistently, and they've not done that. And yes, the Indian batsmen have played well, but if we're going to be critical and honest.
280 for 5 down the wicket comes Rishabh Pant. He's gone over the top of mid-off for 4 more. It's what Rishabh Pant does. Doesn't matter. We've got 25 minutes till the close of play on the first day. He's got back-to-back 4s with a reverse sweep and a lofted drive.
God, it's quick down the wicket here, Pant. The ball's just pitching outside of stump, zoning in on that rough. It doesn't matter. He gets to the pitch of the ball, skims it hard and flat over mid-off. Real power and presence in that shot from Pant.
It's a big moment of the game, and Rishabh Pant has shown in his early part of his career that he is a good recogniser of the big moments and a very good seizer of them as well. And he knows that with India closing in on 300, that putting England under pressure at the close. Here is Moeen again. He's taken behind. Rishabh Pant on the back foot, outside edge. Not out. Well. It was a huge noise. And England have reviewed. Sorry, India have reviewed. Beg your pardon. Right, okay. Rishabh Pant shaking his head saying not out.
I thought he was walking, Manners. But he wasn't. He was walking to his partner to say, I'm not out.
Well, he was given out. So, okay, here's another opportunity. Oh, I think he... Well, there was a noise, but the first look at the first replay suggests there's daylight between bat and ball. So where did that noise come from?
Back hip, I think.
Well...
Give me all tries to double check. This is not a good angle.
It's come off his back leg, off his back rear thigh. Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
Bit of pressure on the third umpire here.
There is, and now we have got the ultra edge, and it's absolutely flat line, and indeed it has come off the back thigh.
Go to the on-field umpire.
He wants to keep rolling though, doesn't he? Just to double check whatever else is going on. Keep rolling it, pal.
Well, it's Nitish Menon, the only man with on the 3-man umpire panel with previous Test match experience, who gave Pant out. He immediately gave himself not out, and there's a small moment of salvation for Anil Chowdhury, the third umpire. And just a word on Anil Chowdhury, by the way. He's one of those umpires, this is by the by, without any first-class playing experience. He's been umpiring since 2013, but this is his international debut. He's done 73 or 72 Ranji Trophy matches, and very few of them, if any, would have involved TV umpires. Here comes Joe Root, and forward comes Ashwin. That one hits the shoulder to the bat, pops up into the air. So I know that Anil Chowdhury would have been entirely familiar with the procedure of third umpiring, but he hasn't done it before. And you've got a review for 3 modes of dismissal, and he just forgot. To his credit, here's Root once again, and Ashwin plays defensively from the crease, pushing up towards mid-wicket. To his credit, he immediately, I suppose in consultation with match referee Javagal Srinath, reinstated the initially lost review to England. Here is Root once again. Oh, and that's caught at short leg by Ollie Pope. It's all happening. Off the inside edge, it is. He's given, he's walking. Ashwin's on his way. It was all very low key. Super catch from Ollie Pope. Down the wicket, Ashwin. Big inside edge, straightforward catch to Ollie Pope. It was all so obvious it didn't even merit a celebration. But a wicket, a 6th wicket for England shortly before the close of the first day, and their tough day in the field just gets better and better.
Yeah, I think this is all because Ollie Pope's taken a good catch, but straight away, as soon as he's caught it, he's trying to throw the stumps down. trying for a double play, didn't require it. Beautiful piece of bowling from the captain. Cramped Ashwin there, created that little bit of angle to hold him on the outside edge, and then the ball straightening, turning and spitting, traps him, gets him stuck with bat and pad, clips the top edge of the bat and popped out. Simple catch to Pope. He was trying to make sure with a run out as well.
284 for 6 now into the 83rd over the day, and debutant Akshar Patel makes his way to the crease. He's a genuine all-rounder. Something of a surprise that R. Ashwin came in ahead of him, but that's often the case with a senior pro and a debutant. Jared Kimber.
Made 95, I think, not outs for Durham a couple of years ago when he played for them. He's a really interesting cricketer because Ravindra Jadeja is basically unreplaceable in that he's one of the world's best bowlers and a very good, high-performing number 7 around the world. And in Akshar Patel, they have like the budget version. That it's incredible. He does everything that Jadeja does, just not quite as well. So he has Jadeja's batting average is 36 in Test cricket, and Akshar Patel's batting average in first-class cricket is 35. Jadeja's bowling average in Test cricket is 24, and Akshar Patel is 27. He's also not quite as good a fielder, but again, a very good fielder as well. It's a really good replacement.
Here is Root and fizzes one past the outside edge. What a delivery. Akshar Patel will enjoy that. The bowler in him will enjoy that. Maybe not so much the batsman, but just a vicious snorting turner from Joe Root past the outside edge first ball.
As both teams were lining up at the start, I think Akshar Patel was the difference in the two teams. The way he can potentially bowl on this surface could be the difference. And I've never seen him play in the longer form of the game. I've only seen him in 2020. But I think his skill set will be brilliant on this surface.
England are up against it, will be, when their turn comes to bat sometime tomorrow, presumably, unless they can rip out the remaining 4 wickets in the 18 minutes or so that we have before the close of play. It was a quicker ball, that, from Joe Root, 95 kilometres an hour. Here he is once more. Akshar Patel forward and steers that one to backward point. And there's no run. I said it was an inside edge onto the pad. You know what? It might have just been a really thick inside half of the bat, and very, very good catch from Ollie Pope. Here's Root once more. Forward comes Patel, and nudges it up towards mid-wicket. No run.
Just going back to the original question from Gerard, and Maddie jumped in and answered, I'm not going to shirk it. Unless you tell me this service is going to get better in the next 4 days, India have got far too many runs today. Answered.
Was that you saying they hadn't bowled well?
That was me saying, unless you're telling me the pitch is going to get better, they've got too many runs today.
Well, I think England have bowled well, just not all the time.
Kind of defeats the point, doesn't it? Bowling well means you bowl well consistently through the day. You can't bowl 2 good balls and then 4 terrible ones.
Here comes Moeen once more, and that's pushed defensively out on the offside. It's been the other way around, Matt. 4 out of 6 have been good.
I think one part of the argument was England to bowl good balls. You're going to do on a surface like this. You're going to bowl balls that look speckies, and it's the balls either side of that are the most important.
Slipping a short leg of the 2 men close in for catching for England. They've also got a man at shortish cover on the drive, and Moeen Ali, well, he, like most cricketers, when they're honest, they're their own severest critics, and that's pushed defensively by Rishabh Pant up towards mid-on. He'll know.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Manners. I think these guys are all honest enough about their games and everything. If you went to Moeen Ali today, I mean, this is...
Here he is once more. Forward comes Rishabh. Plays defensively, no run. 284 for 6.
You know, I'm certainly not questioning should Moeen Ali be in the team or anything like that. Not at all. I think he's England's best spinner, no doubt. And even today, he's seen the rhythm, the pace he gets on the ball. He bowls miracle deliveries. But the fact that he has not got that match practice, you can tell he's out of rhythm, I think. He's out of rhythm of how to build it, how to get into a spell, how to build a spell. Yeah, he bowled that miracle ball to get Kohli out. Fantastic. But what's he gone at? 4 and over. Maybe, I think, a bit more than 4 and over for the day on a wicket that really it should be tough for the batsman to score. So that's my criticism of it.
Yeah, his strength of ball has been very good today, Mo, and he's when he's got it in the right areas, he's asked very good questions consistently of the batters. Just either side of that, obviously, the batters have scored. But yeah, I mean, people call it pace, people call it whatever they want. I would say strength of ball has been pretty good, and obviously shows in the wicket of Kohli. But it's the stuff either side just needs brushing up on.
We've got a hold up in play because Ben Foakes has gone in the pad. He needs a replacement. He sprinted off after a ball and tried to slide the pick-up slide, which is what outfielders do. He tried it and he's just snapped a strap on his pads, and so it's something that the 12th man, but there's 6 of them on duty, or 5 of them on duty, and that's something they wouldn't necessarily be very used to doing. The wicketkeeper calling for a replacement pad, be like, well, where's Ben's kit? Where's Ben's coffin? They'll be looking for a spare pad in there. But they find one eventually.
It's not something you take either.
Spare pads?
Well, I never took a spare pair of keeping pads.
Really? Because he would have thought maybe one spare pair, no? Beg your pardon. With players underway once again, and Rishabh Pant's just pulled this delivery from Moeen Ali for 4. It's too short. That's exactly what Matt Pryor's talking about. Too many scoring opportunities, and Rishabh Pant very quick to jump on that one. Forward comes Moeen. That's better, and Rishabh Pant treats it with the respect it deserves. He's moved up to 26 with that 4, and India 288 for 6. Moeen Ali now 2 for 112, so he's gone for 4 1/4 and over. It was 5 for a long time. He's pulled it back a little bit. Last ball of the over played defensively by Pant, up trickling towards mid-on, but Moeen does his own fielding. 84 overs gone. India 288 for 6. It's a very, very decent score, built on the back of a magnificent 161 from opener Rohit Sharma and 67 from Ajinkya Rahane. Otherwise, it hasn't been India's batsman's day. Completely dominated by Rohit Sharma. 6 overs to go in the day scheduled. We won't get them all in. We very rarely do these days.
Yeah, sorry, I answered the new ball thing, Maddie, and I do feel like there's enough going on for the seamers, but would you possibly give Brody and Storm maybe 2 each at the end, and then you've got a new ball for the start of proceedings tomorrow if you haven't bowled them out, so you get 2 bites to the cherry with that new rock?
Yeah, I think that's an option. I'd be tempted to stay with the spinners because you're right. There's plenty going on, and if they put the ball in the right area, it looks very hard to bat. I was just suggesting, if you were out there bowling now, would you want the 84 overall ball or a new hard ball with a bigger seam that's going to bounce and spin even more?
Joe Root begins another over, and it's nudged out from leg stump towards mid wicket for another single.
I do definitely take your point though, Bats, that a new ball can go around the park, but it can slide onto the bat sometimes, and suddenly the batsmen get away and score quicker. So I can see the logic behind having the slightly softer ball. That's harder to score with.
India 289 for 6. Here's Root once more, and there's an appeal for leg before wicket, sliding down. I think it would have to have gripped and turned a lot in order to straighten from leg stump and still hit the stumps. And Joe Root's just thinking about the review. He's asking Ben Foakes whether he thinks it had gripped and straightened enough. I mean, he really would have had to turn that one sharply, and they've decided not to review it. Matt Pryor, I think Ben Foakes too does not travel with a spare pair of keeping pads, because the replacement that he's got on is a different flavour to the one that pay him an endorsement.
Oh, manners, you've not done that to him. That's cost him 10 grand. He's got the wrong sponsors on.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's his. I think it must have come from James Bracey. Here is Root, full and wide outside the off stump.
He's getting off a plane and going straight to court.
What's his bat manufacturer?
I can't see it. My eyes aren't good enough.
All I can tell you is it's different. He's got he's got one foreign pad on. Here's Root again. Turn and bounce from the keeper. 289 for 6, left alone by Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, he's got Gray Nichols on one pad and something else on the other. we're hearing Miller, Champ and Hall, but
Here is Root once again. Forward comes Rishabh Pant, again nudging it out to mid-wicket, straight to defensively all the way along the ground. India 289 for 6, winning the toss and batting first. They've had a very good day, especially Rohit Sharma, 161. 7th Test match century as Root is in again, and a quicker one from the England captain. Again, angled in towards the pads and helped on its way down to shortish fine leg for another single. Rishabh moves on to 27 from 41 deliveries. Akshar Patel has a single, 290 for 6.
is that not a chance to get more sponsorship? If you've got 2 different pads on, you can get the money from both.
Oh,
What's going on now? Is he had running repairs?
Did they just put the tape on it
He's
to
got
get
the
rid of the
tape
logo?
out. Obviously heard you, Kimber.
yeah. They know you were chucking him under the bus. They're trying to save the appeal process in court when he gets back. But going back to your question, Maddie, what would I do? I can only judge it on what I'm seeing. If I'm Joe Root bowling now, I feel like I can get a wicket. So I ain't changing the ball. I'm sticking with it. I can hit the shin and I can also do the outside edge. And I wouldn't take the risk of a new ball just being a bit easier, a bit harder to score with. This way you've got to respect the old ball at times. And you might have to work at an extra few overs for your wickets, but I'd be taking that right now just to make sure runs were harder to come by.
It might be new ball time now. Ollie Stone's being brought into the attack. He's still got the dog-chewed ball at the moment. He might bowl a couple of looseners with it. Might just see if there's a bit of reverse swing. I have to say that the television production company are being equally unkind, focusing mercilessly on the fact that Ben Foakes is wearing 2 different pads. 290 for 6. Enough of that.
He's lost his match fee now.
Through no fault of his own. Here is Ollie Stone back into the attack. About 10 minutes to go in the day's play, and first delivery there is some reverse swing. That one has gone well past the outside edge as Rishabh Pant leans forward, and I'm not even sure if he played a shot at that, to be honest. Pick of the bowlers today, Jack Leach, 26 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 78. Moeen Ali 2 for 112. The other wicket takers, Ollie Stone and Joe Root. India 6 down, winning the toss, batting first, and in a spot of bother at 86 for 3. Rohit Sharma just dominated the morning session, and indeed most of the afternoon session as well, on his way to 161. Eventually out top edging a sweep to Moeen Ali at deep square leg. Now then, Rishabh Pant and Akshar Patel, the debutant left arm spinner. Pant 27, Akshar has a single, and Ollie Stone starting his 14th over, and his 4th spell is up to the crease now, and it's nudged nicely, square of the wicket on the offside. Through point, Rishabh Pant knew exactly where the gap was and just nudged it through there. It's been an impressive display from Rishabh Pant, mixture of attack and defence.
He's played beautifully as Rishabh Pant. And I think sometimes people judge him in the wrong way because he has the ability to smack it out of the ground. It's kind of like, oh, he's that sort of a player. He's high risk, and he's played with no risk today, and he's still hit 2 out of the ground. He's played beautifully. If England have bowled well, he's kept the good ball out. He's rotated the strike, but you know that there is some power in that armoury, and he can take you down, which is the modern game. It's can you impose yourself on the bowler, but do it in a restrained manner, which I think he's been and done very, very well today, Rishabh Pant. I think he's played magnificently well.
I know several captains and coaches in modern era captains and coaches whose pet hate is the excuse from a player who's caught deep mid wicket at an inappropriate time. Well, that's the way I play, or that's the way he plays. Well, I know that here is Ollie Stone. He's taking the new ball after 3 deliveries of this over, and his first delivery with it is full and straight into the pads and helped to the deep backward square leg boundary by Akshar Patel. First delivery with the new ball. And I know of many coaches and captains who say, well, so you're saying that's it, you're one-dimensional, that's the way you play and that's the only way you play? And I think Rishabh Pant's got more dimensions to him. He doesn't just smash it. That was a beautiful shot, wasn't it, from Akshar Patel? Super timing. He used the angle as well just to help it on its way.
Yeah, around the wicket, Ollie Stone just starting a fraction too straight. Most players can knock it off the pads.
Past the outside edge, next delivery. That's a lovely line. That's a 4th or 5th stump line and angled in towards off stump, and very, very well bowled. I must say, Ben Foakes has been a terrific source of energy, hasn't he? And he's still going now, a few minutes before the end of what has been a hard, hot, sweaty day for England, and he's still cheering and encouraging and full of energy.
Yeah, he's a full-on craftsman as a wicket-keeper. Sees it as his trade. I think arguably he is the best going around, and I think everybody acknowledges that. But it's the whole encompassing part of his trade.
2 slips in a gully, and it's pushed square of the wicket on the offside. I have to say, Matt Pryor, that was something that you were famed for as well during your career, and I know that you took it upon yourself to try and lift everybody when it was a bit hot and hard and flat.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. I think I was asked earlier, whose job is it to keep everyone going and build intensity when it feels a bit flat and there's a partnership? Well, ultimately it's the wicketkeeper, and certainly I took that as my responsibility to be the heartbeat and the drummer in the band, if you like. It's usually the role of the wicketkeeper, and Ben Foakes has done exactly that. And it's from the first ball to the last ball. You can't just do it when things are going well. It's actually more important. There are times where things are going well. That's when actually you can take your energy down a little bit to conserve some, because everyone else is in it. It's actually on those quieter moments that's when your energy and intensity has to go up. You try and get 1 or 2 players to come with you. You might select a few and say, come on mate, give me half an hour, come with me for half an hour, and try and drum it up, so you're not just aimlessly shouting at 11 people or 10 others to try and get something going. Ian Bell was always my guy I'd go to. He was very good, at short leg or gully, and say, come on Belly, half an hour, let's just give it something and try and build the intensity up when it's quite tough.
Joe Root with the new ball is driven out towards cover, and it's a bump ball, well fielded Jack Leach. Well, this is I wasn't expecting it. I think it probably is fairly widely unexpected. Joe Root taking a share of the new ball with Ollie Stone, as Root is in again, and that one turns sharply, hits the outside half of the bat and fielded at short third man by Stuart Broad, who might have been wondering whether he might bowl an over or 2 with the new ball. But then it was pointed out by Darren Gough about an hour ago that he did seem to be limping a little, or just not moving very freely. The next one is pushed defensively by Rishabh up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. So maybe just an ice bath tonight, and fresh legs, fresh outlook with the ball that'll still be virtually brand new when play resumes tomorrow morning. Full and wide, left alone outside the off stump. 295 for 6.
I think potentially they also wanted 2 overs from Ollie Stone, so Root stayed on to try and get through this over quickly.
That's fair enough. Yeah, good point. India 295 for 6 at the crease. The 2 left-handers. Rishabh Pant 28. Akshar Patel has 5. And if you're just catching up with the action for the first time today, India won the toss, decided to bat first, and built their innings on the back of Rohit Sharma's brilliant 161. 67 from Ajinkya Rahane. India at one stage were 86 for 3. But the 2 spinners, or the 3 spinners, but the 2 major spinners, there's a hold up in play here. Senior umpire Nitin Menon is just walking in to, I think, calm down a little bit of chat, and Joe Root's wondering what the hold-up is all about, and because he wants that's full and wide, left alone outside the off stump. There's some aggro. Let's just be honest about this. Rishabh Pant is having some verbals. Carl, you read the situation, Matt.
Well, Rishabh Pant's saying we need to go off.
Pushed out towards extra. What, bad light?
No, he's just making sure that was the last ball of the day. Foakes and Stokes trying to hurry him round, so England obviously want to get another over in.
That's what the game was. Rishabh Pant was holding up play between deliveries because Joe Root was trying to scurry through that over so that Ollie Stone could get another one.
He was stoking it up, hoping there was a bit of argy-bargy behind the stumps, and somebody had said something. I'll see you around the back of the change room after the game, pal. I think those days are gone, unfortunately.
Ben Stokes is right in the thick of the action now. He's right in Rishabh Pant's face, but he's got a smile on his face. I mean, he's a broad grin on his face. And England will get what they wanted, the desired final over to be bowled by Ollie Stone. I have to say, gents, I absolutely love that. It's Test cricket. It's not a tea party with fairy cakes.
Yeah, absolutely right. Serious stuff. Imagine if Pant nicks this one. He's on strike as well.
That's great. I mean, there's no physical contact. It's not a physical sport. At least it shouldn't be between players. If you want to make contact, do so with the ball, with your opposition. And I think that's great. It's Rishabh Pant's a really feisty character. And let me just say, he wasn't daunted. He's not faint-hearted. This will be the last over of the day, and it's bowled by Ollie Stone, and that's left alone by Rishabh Pant outside the off stump, but it wasn't too far away from the off stump, and Ben Foakes is encouraging and cheering now. England sense that another wicket before the close of play, and they're very, very much back in the game, and will have gone a long way to redeeming what's been a largely untidy day with the ball.
Yeah, great start to the over there, Stone. You just feel like there's a bit more on it now, because there's been not really argy-bargy, let's be honest, but something's gone on. You just feel like he's under a little bit more pressure than he was an over ago.
Here's Stone once again outside the off stump, and once more it's a good leave from Rishabh Pant. Good leave.
The other thing that's awful for a batsman, this, I mean, you're hiding to nothing, aren't you? Just got to get through the next 4 balls. That's all you're thinking about. And if you get in that defensive mode, it's funny how you suddenly prod at one and nick off. Certainly someone like Pant who likes to be aggressive and likes to attack, and I imagine that's why he was pretty desperate to get off the pitch as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Stone been good though. First 2 balls right on the button. Great lines, great lengths. Not easy leaves for Pant, those.
Here is Ollie Stone once again. Bowls short ball, and he's pulled it. Oh, in the last over of the day. It's short, up at the bat, chest height, and Rishabh Pant says, just can't leave it alone. And he's gone for the pull shot, and the crowd love it. 4 runs. 300 up for India.
Then again. Wow. So quick to pounce back. Didn't really commit to the short ball, just sort of chest height. Pant just literally just a rock onto the back foot. Hands, bat, wrists over the ball, hits it straight into the turf. No danger of a wicket. Precise between square leg and straight mid wicket. Lovely shot from Pant. All the time in the world.
What a shot to move Pant into the 30s. He's 33 not out, and India 300 for 6. Even if England do take another wicket, India have won this the first day of this Test match on the back of Rohit Sharma's glorious 161. But England have never, they have not backed off. I must say, anything but heads dropped by England. Anything but. They've been at India all day. If anything, they've been over-attacking. Here is Stone once again, and that bounces off back of a length, hits, I think, Pant on the gloves. He's not showing any signs of discomfort, but it has gloved him. He's standing a foot out of his crease.
Yeah, and just the look there that Ollie Stone gave him, he's sort of squared him up a little bit. He's got a bit chest on, and it's hit him on his left bicep. That certainly would have hurt a bit, and Ollie Stone's face is kind of like, come on pal, you've still got 2 balls here, we're in a contest.
Yeah, it wasn't glove at all. It's gone past the gloves, as you say, left bicep. There'll be a bruise there. Brand new ball. Might even have a seam imprint, depending on where it hit him. Here's Stone once again. Good delivery, once more back of a length. Rishabh Pant stands up tall at the crease, as tall as he can get, and pushes it down defensively, square of the wicket on the offside. Oh, the game's just bubbling away in the last 15 minutes or so. Some verbal argy-bargy as opposed to the physical stuff. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I must say that the match referee, Javagal Srinath, wasn't the retiring sort himself as a fast bowler. He didn't mind a few verbal jousts, and I think that the cricketer in him might be quite appreciative of attitude being shown by both teams at the end of what has been a long, hard-fought day. Stone in, low full toss, and it's chipped away in the air and only just falls short of Moeen Ali at mid-wicket. Well, there's no question that Ollie Stone didn't mean to bowl a full toss at the last ball of the day, particularly not at shin height, but it might well have backfired horribly on Rishabh Pant, who's punched it away on the onside, and is fortunate perhaps that he mistimed it sufficiently for it to fall short of the fielder. We're going to fall 2 overs short of the day's full allocation of 90. We've had 88, but I must say we've had immense value for those 88 overs as India reach 300 for 6 after winning the toss and batting first. They may still go on to the monster daddy total that they would have wanted when they chose to bat first, but England have got those 6 wickets, and 3 of them in the final session. Oh, it's been we've had value for money today, haven't we, Gareth Batty?
Absolutely. 300 runs on the first day, 6 wickets from an England point of view. We've seen a bit of everything. We've seen Ollie Stone come sort of back after a pretty decent period out of Test cricket and bowled really well. He's bowled quick in the high 140s most of the time. We've seen some big spin, so an absolute jaffa from Moeen Ali. But let's not forget, and let's actually take our hats off to how well Rohit Sharma played. I mean, what a knock that was. He was absolutely poetry in motion, pure batting. Scored his runs at a canter and has really put his team in the driving seat in this contest.
Yeah, I agree, Bats. India will be delighted, I think, with their day, having won the toss and chosen to bat. Wicket was 5th ball, wasn't it? You told me 5th ball was the first puff of dust we saw. It looked like it was going to be a tough day. Rohit Sharma, I mean, we'll talk about him for the rest of the day, to be honest. His outstanding innings, 161. He made it look effortless, honestly, on a pitch that was tough to bat on, and particularly against the spinners. He was just a class above. Helped by Ajinkya Rahane as well, 67 off 149 balls. India finishing the day 300 for 6. Good day for them. From an England perspective, I think if they are brutally honest, too many bad balls today. The spinners, Moeen Ali for example, bowled some fantastic balls, particularly the one to get Kohli out. Miracle ball through the gate. What dreams are made of for an off spinner, but going at over 4 and over, just too expensive.